Chapter 291. Gu Fengfeng's car was parked at the entrance of the subway. Seeing Yi Huanyan get out of the car in a hurry, she hurriedly rolled down the window. She wanted to say something, but she saw that Yi Huanyan's figure had already disappeared in the crowd. She sighed silently. Ling Han's car had already stopped behind her. The crisp sound of the door closing came from outside the car. Gu Fengfeng pouted at the subway, indicating that Yi Huanyan had already entered. Ling Han didn't say anything and chased after her. The subway station, with the largest flow of people in the main city, was still crowded, even if it wasn't rush hour. Now that night had fallen, the entire subway station was innumerable people. Ling Han didn't have a subway card, and he didn't have any cash on him. He was directly stopped by the security. He could almost see Yi Huanyan's figure disappear behind the gate and get off the elevator. Yi Huanyan, he shouted loudly, ignoring the people in the subway station who kept looking back at him, as if they were looking at a crazy person. Yi Huanyan. Yi Huanyan took out her earphones from her bag and plugged them into her ears. She held the handrail of the elevator and followed the elevator downstairs. Then she looked at the countdown on the electronic screen and waited for the next subway to arrive, blocking out all the noise. Ji Xiaoya's apartment complex came out from the entrance of Green Garden Villa. She rarely went out these days, but the security at the entrance still remembered her and smiled at her. "Miss Yi, you're back." Yi Huanyan nodded and smiled, then walked into the complex. Just as she walked under the building, she saw a tall figure who had been waiting for a long time. She stopped and looked at him coldly, as if she was looking at a stranger. "I drive faster than you take the subway." He walked forward with a cold expression. "You have to come back." So, she was indifferent. "How long are you going to hide from me? How many times do I have to explain before you understand? The child's matter is irreversible. Even if I said I would protect the child, I couldn't. Your body. That's enough." Yi Huanyan interrupted him coldly. "I know that the loss of the child has nothing to do with you. If I've misunderstood you before, I apologize. I'm sorry." Not long after the operation, both Gu Xinian and Ji Xiaoya told her that the fetus had died in the womb long before the operation. The doctor couldn't determine whether the fetus was still alive, so he asked whether to save the mother or the baby. The best plan was actually to save the mother. Ling Han heaved a sigh of relief. "Since you know, why are you still avoiding me these past few days? I know you're upset, but since we're already married, I don't plan on getting a divorce. Yenya and I. It's only a matter of time before you divorce." Yi Huanyan interrupted him again. "I've already asked a lawyer to submit a divorce application to the court. There won't be any division of assets. If we live apart for long enough, our divorce agreement will automatically take effect." After saying this, Yi Huanyan walked past him, her eyes full of indifference. "So don't come looking for me again." "What did you say?" Ling Han's expression changed, and he suddenly grabbed Yi Huanyan's hand, causing her to stumble. "I won't divorce you. Why should we divorce? If you divorce me, who are you going to be with? Su Nianhua or Gu Xinian? Or some other man?" He said this angrily and anxiously, and it sounded particularly mournful in the dark night. He knew everything that had happened in the neighborhood these past few days. He saw everything that Su Nianhua had done for Yi Huanyan, and Gu Xinian also treated her like a treasure. He panicked. He suddenly realized that he hadn't done much for Yi Huanyan. When Yi Huanyan thought of him, she probably wouldn't have any good memories. In the long run, she would leave him. Before he could truly let go of the past and start a life with her, she would leave. Yi Huanyan struggled to break free from his wrist. Her gaze was gloomy as she paused between each word. "What I owe you? Or should I say what my mother owes you, a life for a life? I've paid it all. Don't bother me anymore. That's the only thing I expect from you now. We're even. Then start afresh with me." Ling Han gripped her wrist tightly, his eyes already filled with despair. Yi Huanyan looked at him in disbelief, as if she couldn't believe that he could still say such things. "You're crazy. I don't agree to the divorce." He threw out these words, which echoed in the dark night. Her eyes were red, and she bit down hard on his wrist. His mouth was full of the taste of blood, but he didn't even make a sound. He gritted his teeth and waited for Yi Huanyan to finish venting her anger so that she could change her mind. Yi Huanyan bit down so hard that his flesh was dripping with blood. Drops of blood flowed down his slender fingers and fell to the ground, splattering blood flowers. In the end, Gu Xinian and Ji Xiaoye rushed over and pulled the two of them apart. Ling Han still refused to let go. He repeated each word. Yi Huanyan, come home with me. He was strong and could ignore the bleeding from his wound, but Yi Huanyan couldn't take it. Her entire arm was numb and filled with blood. Her face was pale and covered in cold sweat. Ji Xiaoye stomped her feet anxiously. Ling Han, you bastard. Do you want to watch her die in front of you? She's just in time. Seeing that he couldn't pull her away, Gu Xinian immediately turned cold and punched Ling Han in the face. He finally lost all his strength. Yi Huanyan's wrist slipped from his hand. Her thin and weak body swayed in the wind and was supported by Ji Xiaoye. Let's go, Xiaoyu. Let's go. Her voice was very weak in the wind. He covered the blood at the corner of his mouth and wanted to chase after her. But Gu Xinian grabbed him by the collar and threw him into the flower bed. His back hit the flower bed's fire hydrant and he groaned. His vision turned dark. In the darkness, he could only hear Gu Xinian snort coldly, and his footsteps gradually faded away. He supported himself with both hands and struggled to get up. He tried to open his eyes and look ahead, but everything was a blur. The past 11 years were like a dream. Their arguments, insults, lies, hatred, and all kinds of emotions existed in his bones. But even so, he never thought that Yi Huanyan would leave him. He was the one who destroyed Yi Huanyan's love for him with his own hands. He was the one who personally pushed their love bit by bit into the grave. She finally stopped loving him unconditionally. After returning home, Ji Xiaoye was busy stretching Yi Huanyan's arm. As she stretched, she kept scolding. Ling Han is crazy. Is he going to tear off your arm? I'm going to the police station tomorrow to sue him. He's AF * king lunatic, a bastard, AF * king scumbag. As she was scolding, Gu Xinian pushed open the door and walked in. Ji Xiaoye immediately changed her attitude. She coughed dryly and stopped her string of profanities. She smiled and said, Yin Yin, do you want to drink some water? I'll get you some. Yi Huanyan's eyes were red and swollen. She leaned against the sofa and sobbed. Gu Xinian walked to the side and lifted her arm to continue massaging it. He said in a deep voice, Big brother has already helped you vent your anger. You don't have to feel sad for this kind of person. Yi Huanyan took a deep breath and gradually calmed down. Forget it. I'm tired. I want to rest. After saying this, she stood up and walked in the direction of the bedroom. Her back view looked very lonely. Gu Xinian looked at her back view and frowned. Chapter 292. After that day, Ling Han did not show up at the apartment building for 3 consecutive days. When Ji Xiaoye came back from the supermarket with a large bag of daily necessities, she deliberately glanced at the camphor tree. When she saw that there was still no one, she felt a little frustrated and muttered, What kind of person is he? I've only waited for a few days. Has it been 2 weeks? He gave up just like that. Yin Yin shouldn't be with this kind of person. He doesn't have any patience at all. What a jerk. Just as she was muttering to herself, a shadow blocked the streetlight from behind her. A familiar scent made her back stiffen slightly. She slowly turned around and said with some difficulty, You're here. Gu Xinian smiled. Have you been busy the past 2 days? Ji Xiaoye avoided his gaze and nodded slightly. Before he could ask further, she stuffed a large bag of groceries into his hands and said hurriedly, I just remembered that I have something to do. Take these things upstairs. When she saw Gu Xinian come back with a large bag of daily necessities, Yi Huanyan looked at the sanitary napkins that were exposed at the corner of the translucent shopping bag. A look of surprise flashed across her eyes. You bought these? He put down the bag. I bumped into Xiaoyu downstairs. Has she been getting off work this late for the past 2 days? Yi Huanyan nodded. Then she seemed to recall something and asked, What did you say to Sister Yulin the other day when I had dinner with her? Gu Xinian had a complicated look in his eyes. I said that I wouldn't be coming back after we returned to the States. Yi Huanyan was stunned when she heard this. Did you make it clear to her? I guess so. Yi Huanyan did not understand what Gu Xinian meant by, I guess so. When Ji Xiaoya came back that night, she could not help but ask her about it. Ji Xiaoya's version of events differed from Gu Xingyan's. After hearing Ji Xiaoya's version of events, Yi Huanyan finally understood what Gu Xingyan meant by "I guess so." He said he likes me. Ji Xiaoya was a little hesitant. She kept twisting the hem of her pajamas and nestled on the sofa with a look of discomfort. He asked me what I thought. What? Yi Huanyan was a little confused. Ji Xiaoya sighed. He said that he wouldn't come back after returning to America, so he asked me to think about it myself. Hearing this, Yi Huanyan was infuriated. What are you talking about? Isn't this playing with your feelings? Ji Xiaoya frowned. Don't talk about your brother like that. He is your brother after all. Seeing how submissive she was, Yi Huanyan said in annoyance. Ji Xiaoya, listen up. Gu Xingyan is my brother, not yours. You don't have to be so polite to him. Yi Huanyan was really angry. Previously, Gu Xingyan had promised her that he wouldn't provoke Ji Xiaoya if he didn't want to take responsibility. Of all the people he could provoke, he had to provoke her only best friend. I'll call him myself and tell him that he's bullying me. Isn't this? Before Yi Huanyan could make the call, Ji Xiaoya snatched the phone away. She looked at Yi Huanyan with a pitiful expression. Yin Yan, I think your brother is actually giving me a chance. Perhaps he will change his mind before we leave. You're crazy. Yi Huanyan stared at her in disbelief. You really want to be with him? Just a few months before we return to America? Then what about after we leave? What do you plan to do? Ji Xiaoya looked bitter. Can I not think about what will happen in the future? Xiaoyu, don't scold me. Look at yourself. You're the same. Can you really forget about Ling Han? You've been going to the window a lot these past 2 days. But he didn't come at all. Yi Huanyan's face stiffened slightly. Looking at her, she was exasperated at her failure to live up to expectations. But what she said was the truth. If she couldn't do it herself, how could she force others to do it? Forget it. I'm not going to care about you anymore. Yi Huanyan lifted the blanket and climbed into bed. She picked up a novel beside the bed and started reading. Late at night, Ji Xiaoya breathed evenly beside her and murmured Gu Xingyan's name. Yi Huanyan pulled the blanket over her and got out of bed to drink some water. When she came back, she couldn't help but walk to the window. Under the gap in the curtains, she saw the camphor tree. He really didn't come again. There were many heartless people in the world. Many times, Yi Huanyan also hoped that she could be cold-blooded and heartless. She even envied Sheng Anren for doing anything to achieve his goal. At least he was not as timid as she was. The next morning, Ji Xiaoya got up and went to work. After making up, she went to the balcony to find clothes. I have a dinner party in the company today. I won't come back for dinner tonight. Don't wait for me. Yi Huanyan nestled in bed, looked at the direction of the balcony with sleepy eyes, and answered in a muffled voice. Recently, she had insomnia and slept late at night. She was too sleepy in the morning and got up late. Her biological clock was in chaos. Suddenly, Ji Xiaoya exclaimed on the balcony. What the? Immediately, the sound of opening the curtains came into Yi Huanyan's ears. The strong sunlight shone on her face, making her frown and pull the quilt to block the sunlight. Through the quilt, she heard Ji Xiaoya shouting. Ling Han is here again. He's standing downstairs. Yin Yan, do you want to see? Under the quilt, Yi Huanyan's body stiffened, and she was not sleepy at all. Ji Xiaoya stood by the bed and saw that there was no reaction on the bed at all. She was stunned for a few seconds. You really don't want to see. His arm is in a cast hanging around his neck. It seems that your brother hit him that day. There was still no movement on the bed. Ji Xiaoya shrugged as if she was talking to the air. Her voice gradually went away. I don't care. Anyway, it wasn't me. I'm leaving first. It's too late to go to work. After saying this, she heard the sound of the door closing in the living room. Yi Huanyan instantly threw the quilt aside and hurriedly jumped off the bed and walked toward the balcony. Her footsteps were very hurried. She pulled the curtains open. Under the glaring sunlight, the tall and straight man was still standing in the same spot where he always stood. He was wearing a white shirt and black pants. He stood there without moving like a statue, There was no arm hanging around his neck like Ji Xiaoya had said. Yi Huanyan was in a daze when a sweet voice suddenly came from the living room. Aya, I didn't take my bag. I really have to go. Ji Xiaoya was leaning against the door and looked at her meaningfully. Yin Yin, what secrets do you think you have with me? If you can't let go, then you can't. If you ask me, you should just give him the cold shoulder for a few days and see if he's sincere about changing his ways. It'll be fine as long as he changes. During this period of time, Ji Xiaoya had heard a lot of things outside. For example, Yi Huanyan's name had been kept in the position of the Secretary of Pleasure and Pleasure. During the half-year of her resignation, Yi Huanyan still paid for the insurance, housing and social insurance. Even her salary was still paid in the salary card as usual. The card was handed over to her by Su Meng the day before. Another example was that Su Nianhua came to their community every 2 or 3 days to please them. The photos put on the internet by passers-by were deleted before they could spread. Yi Huanyan's information had never been exposed. Another example was that Sheng Inren had moved away from Fujin Court. Since Yi Huanyan had a miscarriage, Ling Han had not been involved with any woman. In these 3 days, the reason why Ling Han didn't come was that his spinal nerves were injured by Gu Xinian, and he was in a coma in the hospital for 3 days. Chapter 293. Ji Xiaoya naturally didn't tell Yi Huanyan why Ling Han didn't come. She selfishly felt that Ling Han didn't know how to cherish what he already had, so he should suffer a little. After teasing Yi Huanyan a little, she picked up her bag and left. When she passed by Ling Han, she didn't even look at him and sneered. A good horse doesn't go back to the old pasture. Don't wait anymore. Yin Yin won't come down. On the other hand, Yi Huanyan stood behind the curtains and stared blankly at the man downstairs. The man that she would dream of every night. The man who had hurt her so many times that she was determined to forget him. The sun was shining brightly in the afternoon, so there wasn't a single person on the road. Gu Xinian's car didn't stop until it reached the building. Ling Han stood under the sun and stared motionlessly at the window on the 3rd floor. He frowned and glanced at Gu Lu, who was driving. Send a bottle of water over. Gu Lu's eyes twinkled with amusement. Young master, are you so soft-hearted now that you've spent so much time with Miss? Gu Xinian laughed coldly. I'm just worried that he'll die from the sun and make Yin Yin sad. This kind of person deserved to live well and in pain. After he said this, he got out of the car and walked towards the building without looking back. Gu Lu took out a bottle of ice water from the fridge in the car and ran under the camphor tree in the hot sun to hand the water to Ling Han. He was being kind, but all he got in return was, no thanks. Gu Lu frowned. Gu Xinian had just walked into the building when he heard this. He turned around and strode over to Ling Han coldly. He was 2 to 3 centimeters taller than Ling Han, and his silver hair shone brightly under the sun. His entire aura was many times colder than Ling Han's frail appearance. I'm afraid this kind of trick doesn't suit you. Ling Han's face was pale. He glanced at Gu Xinian. Tell Yin Yin that I really want to start over with her. I hope she can give me another chance. Oh, opportunity? Gu Xinian sneered. What kind of opportunity? Anything is fine as long as she's by my side. I'm by your side, but my heart isn't with you. Then I will think of a way to get her heart back. Although his face was pale, his tone was firm and unquestionable. Gu Xinian pondered for a moment and said, You're better off saying it than singing. Gu Lu looked at his boss, then at Ling Han, who was sweating profusely. He hesitated for a while, then put the water in his hand on the ground. Well, you can drink it yourself if you're thirsty. I've delivered it to you. In the apartment, Yi Huanyan made some honeysuckle tea to detoxify the poison. Then she brought it to Gu Xinian. He sat on the sofa and looked at the pot of tea in front of him. Then he looked at Yi Huanyan thoughtfully. Yin Yin, he's downstairs. Oh, Yi Huanyan responded indifferently. Then she picked up the novel next to her and turned a page. Actually, if I put myself in your shoes, I hope you can give him a chance. Gu Xinian's voice sounded beside her. He sounded a little conflicted, unlike his usual calm and decisive tone. Yi Huanyan was slightly stunned. Why? Because I used to be like him. Gu Xinian took a sip of tea. His eyes were filled with sadness. But I'm not as lucky as him. You're still around, so he still has a chance to make up for it. I'm gone. Yi Huanyan frowned. Are you talking about sister-in-law? He took a deep breath. His eyes trembled. When Young Ke left, she was pregnant with a 3-month-old child. But I didn't even know about the child's existence. I think there might have been a misunderstanding between us. But no matter what she did wrong, I shouldn't have treated her that way. I regret it, but it's too late. This was the first time Gu Xinian mentioned Young Ke in front of Yi Huanyan. It was also the first time he took the initiative to mention her after Young Ke left. The name Young Ke was like a thorn in his heart. The longer she was gone, the deeper this thorn would pierce into his heart. Gu Xinian told her a lot about his family. He said that he had fallen out with his family because he wanted to marry Young Ke. He had thought that Young Ke would live a happy life after she was accepted by her family. But he didn't expect that the real storm would come after their marriage. Suspicion, jealousy, and love and hate intertwined. In the end, only despair was left in their marriage. It was his despair and Young Ke's. When Young Ke left, we had just been divorced for a month. I didn't know that she was pregnant, and she didn't tell me. She was the one who brought up the divorce. I thought that she didn't have me in her heart, so I let her go. That was the worst decision of my life. Yi Huanyan listened to Gu Xinian's story about him and Young Ke. The more she listened to the story, the more upset she felt for the people in the story, and also for a person who wasn't in the story. Gu Xinian showed her the photo of Young Ke in his wallet. Her eyes froze. The female model you saw looks like her, but it's not her. Gu Xinian explained indifferently. When he mentioned the female model, his eyes were full of indifference. Yi Huanyan's heart clenched. Her voice was hoarse. Brother, I didn't know about your past. I even threw a tantrum with you because of Xiaoyu. I'm sorry. Gu Xinian raised his hand and rubbed her head. You're my sister. How could I blame you? After Young Ke left, looking for Yi Huanyan became the only mental support in Gu Xinian's heart. He wanted to find something for himself to do. Yan, I'm not saying this to make you feel bad. I just want to tell you that being separated by life and death is a very sad and powerless thing. While you're still young, you still have a chance to let go of it. Yi Huanyan's eyes reddened. If Gu Xinian had appeared earlier, she and Ling Han wouldn't have been like this. If she had known about her identity earlier, then Ling Han's resentment towards her wouldn't have existed. But now it was too late to take back the water that had been spilled. How could she let go of that dead child? And let go of the thousands of doubts between her and Ling Han that were riddled with holes? The sky outside the window gradually darkened. Dark clouds hung over the sky. A real storm was coming. Gu Xinian glanced out of the window and frowned. He didn't know how much Yi Huanyan had taken in, and how much she could let go of in her heart. From her brother's point of view, he hoped that Yi Huanyan would never forgive this bastard. But from Ling Han's point of view, he empathized with him, and hoped that Yi Huanyan would give him a chance. Yi Huanyan made dinner. There were 3 dishes and a soup. It was more sumptuous than usual. She kept putting food on his plate to let him eat more. After dinner, she cleaned up the dishes and went to the kitchen to wash them. She looked calm and composed. It seemed that she didn't care about how heavy the rain was outside the window. She also didn't care if Ling Han was still waiting in the same place. Gu Xinian didn't rush her. He was an outsider. He quietly waited for his sister to make a decision. No matter what decision she made, he would respect her in the end. The lightning lit up the whole room as bright as day. What followed was a deafening rumble of thunder. Gu Xinian stood by the window and lifted a corner of the curtain. Looking at the sorry figure in the rain, his frown deepened. Chapter 294. A black car sped through the rain and slowly stopped under the building. Xiaomu held an umbrella and hurriedly walked to Ling Han's side. She anxiously said, Director Ling, what are you doing? Come back with me quickly. The doctor said you can't leave the hospital yet. Ling Han was indifferent. Xiaomu, go back first. I'll wait for her here. Director Ling, how long are you going to wait? Wait until she comes to see me. Xiaomu furrowed her brows with mixed feelings. As the rain grew heavier, Xiaomu steeled herself and stuffed the umbrella into Ling Han's hands. She braved the rain and rushed into the building, banging on the apartment door loudly. It was Gu Xinian who opened the door. He stared at Xiaomu warily. "What are you doing? Where's Secretary Yi? I want to see Secretary Yi. I have something to say to her." Xiaomu stayed upstairs for a long time. The rain was pouring down. Ling Han threw away the umbrella and looked at the window on the third floor. He vaguely saw Yi Huanyan's figure. His face was full of tears. He raised his wrist to wipe the water droplets on his face and tried to see more clearly. However, when he opened his eyes again, there was no one on the windowsill. Xiaomu walked out of the rain in a daze and stopped in front of Ling Han. "Director Ling, she doesn't want to see me, right? I expected it. You don't have to say it." Xiaomu's expression was complicated. In the end, he did not dare to look into Ling Han's eyes and stammered. "She said she'll go back to work at pleasure next Monday on the condition that you don't come again." Ling Han's body stiffened and looked at Xiaomu in disbelief. "What did you say?" Xiaomu took a deep breath. "Secretary Yi said she's willing to go back to work at the company." You're telling the truth?" At that moment, Ling Han felt like his heart had started beating again. He was wild with joy. The rain was pouring down on his face, but he did not feel cold. Just as he was about to ask another question, the world suddenly spun, and he fell straight to the ground. Xiaomu exclaimed, "Director Ling." The statue downstairs finally left. A muffled voice came from the room, with a hint of sobbing. He left. Beside the windowsill, Gu Xinian's gaze pierced through the rain-splashed glass window to look at Ling Han, who was being helped into the carriage by Xiaomu. He calmly responded, let's go." Yi Huanyan had just cried. Xiaomu's words allowed her despairing heart toward Ling Han to find a trace of vitality. She was willing to give him another chance. But Gu Xinian knew that she still hated Ling Han. She resented him for being suspicious of her. Resented him for not trusting her. "Brother, help me investigate the matter," Xiaomu mentioned. Yi Huanyan's voice was a bit hoarse, and her red eyes were cold. Gu Xinian nodded. He knew that Yi Huanyan was not a timid person, and she was not someone who would believe everything anyone said. Even though Xiaomu said so, she still had doubts in her heart. Her rationality told her that she must thoroughly understand this matter. "Okay," he agreed. Then it was Saturday and Sunday, and Ling Han did not come again. However, Xiaomu packed Yi Huanyan's luggage and sent it over, saying that Ling helped to pack it. Inside were the clothes she was used to wearing at work, and there were even some clean and fresh clothes. They were all neatly arranged and placed in one suitcase. Xiaomu's complexion was haggard, as if he had aged several years overnight. When he looked at Yi Huanyan, his eyes were full of regret, and he did not even have the confidence to speak to her. He was originally a high-spirited man in the workplace. "Secretary Yi, I sincerely hope that you can reconcile with Director Ling. I will take responsibility for all the mistakes. I will resign immediately and never appear in front of you again." "No need." Yi Huanyan looked at him coldly. "I didn't say that I completely believed what you said, nor did I say that I would forgive you. You should do what you should do, and I don't need you to interfere in the matter between Ling Han and me." She closed the door and shut Xiaomu outside. Before Xiaomu could say anything about Ling Han being hospitalized, she was rebuffed, and she stood there awkwardly for a while before leaving. On Monday, Yi Huanyan returning to work at pleasure was a big deal. Xiaodong solemnly returned the door card and work pass to Yi Huanyan. "Secretary Yi, welcome back." Xiaodong was very grateful to Yi Huanyan. If it were not for Yi Huanyan, she would not have been able to stay because of her carelessness and involvement in the incident of the leak of the artist's information. Yi Huanyan's smile was a bit dull. She glanced at Xiaodong, put on the work pass, and said lightly, "Let's go." The assistant team still looked the same as before. When they saw Yi Huanyan, they did not show any surprise, as if they had made an agreement. Everyone respectfully greeted Yi Huanyan like before. Xiaodong led Yi Huanyan back to the office. Her seat was still the same as when she left. Even the 2 gel pens in the pen holder were still in the same place. "Secretary Yi, you just came back. Take a rest first. I'll go to the finance department to get the report." "Wait." Yi Huanyan put down her bag and turned to look at Xiaodong. The finance department always sends the report themselves. When did they need you to get it? Xiaodong paused for a moment. Without Yi Huanyan, the secretary department had become an empty shell. Xiaodong was not as efficient as Yi Huanyan, and he was too easygoing. It was inevitable that he would be looked down upon. Yi Huanyan frowned and turned around to pick up the phone on the desk. She turned and asked Xiaodong, "Which month's financial report?" 2 months ago. Yi Huanyan's face darkened when she heard this. Xiaodong, who was standing at the side, was anxious. Yi Huanyan asked coldly, "Why is the financial report from 2 months ago not here yet? Also, is there no one in the finance department? Do you need the secretaries to run errands for you?" "Who am I? You must be new. Get your manager Wang to answer the phone. Tell him that my name is Yi Huanyan." Less than 5 minutes after Yi Huanyan hung up the phone, Xiao Zhang from the finance department ran into the secretary department with a stack of reports. He was sweating profusely and stammered, "Secretary Yi, these are the financial reports for the past 2 months. Manager Wang asked me to send them over. If there is a mistake in the figures, your department can forget about getting this month's bonus. Also, go back and tell Manager Wang that before he orders my secretaries to run errands for him, he must read the company's department assignment chart. He must know the consequences of breaking the rules." Xiao Zhang nodded. Xiaodong was dumbfounded by Yi Huanyan's thunderous actions. She swallowed hard and said, "Sister Yi, you are so impressive." Yi Huanyan glanced at Xiaodong. "You have been working for me for a few months, and you still haven't learned this. What is the secretary department for?" "The secretary department is directly under the president's office. It is 1 level higher than the assistant department. Other than the president, you don't need to listen to anyone else. Do you understand?" After all, Xiaodong was still young. Although she said she understood, she was not confident. But Yi Huanyan was back, and she regained her confidence. Chapter 295. Yi Huanyan quickly flipped through the finance department's report and ticked out a few obvious mistakes with a red pen. Then, she put the report aside and said, "Xiaodong, send the report to the finance department and have them edit it before sending it back. Remind them that they can forget about this month's bonus. Also, make a trip to the salary department and tell them about this matter." As soon as she finished speaking, Xiaodong walked toward the door with the report. Yi Huanyan lowered her head and heard Xiaodong's voice coming from the corridor. "President Ling." The footsteps were a bit muffled, but they soon became very clear and entered Yi Huanyan's ears. "You're here." When Yi Huanyan looked up, Ling Han was standing at the door of the office in a suit, looking a bit haggard. Beside her, Qiao Mu was looking at her with a bit of unnaturalness. She glanced at them, and then turned to leave. "I'm going to work first. President Ling, take your time." After Qiao Mu left, Ling Han entered the office and sat down on the sofa, looking a bit reserved. His cautious manner was completely different from before. When this word flashed through Yi Huanyan's mind, she was stunned. The so-called before was only something that happened half a month ago, but in her heart, it already felt like something that happened in her previous life. "Yan, I'm very happy that you can come back. Let's just treat the past as the past. No matter what resentment the previous generation had, I've already let it go since the day I burned my mother's diary. I didn't tell you before, but now that you're willing to come back, I'll explain everything to you clearly." He sat up straight and still, his cold eyes trembling slightly as he looked at Yi Huanyan. Yi Huanyan closed the proposal in her hand, stood up, walked around the table, and walked to the coffee table. "President Ling, this is the proposal for the resort by the river. I've roughly looked through it, and there's no problem. Please sign it." Ling Han stared at her in a daze, but he only saw indifference in her eyes. Yan, this is the company, President Ling. I think there's no need to mention anything other than work." It was as if a small flame in his heart had been extinguished by a basin of cold water. The cold, bone-chilling feeling spread throughout his entire body. She did come back, but her return was to turn a blind eye to him, which was also the greatest revenge against him. Seeing that Ling Han did not accept the proposal, She simply put the folder on the coffee table. Then, she stood up straight and walked to the desk by herself. With her back turned, she said, "I don't think the proposal submitted by the planning department for Su Nianhua's birthday party at the end of the month is very good. I'm going to be responsible for following up on this case. What do you think, President Ling?" At the mention of Su Nianhua, Ling Han's expression stiffened. Yi Huanyan stood behind the desk with both hands on the desk. She leaned forward slightly and curled the corners of her mouth to reveal a faint smile. "President Ling, do you think it's not a good idea?" A trace of coldness flashed through his eyes. He stood up and forced a smile at Yi Huanyan. "Good, very good." He turned to leave but was stopped by Yi Huanyan. "President Ling, you haven't read the proposal yet." Ling Han took a deep breath and suppressed the resentment in his heart. He turned around and quickly signed the last page of the proposal before leaving without a word. The moment the door to the president's office closed, a violent coughing fit was shut inside. There were specks of red on the black and white checkered Burberry handkerchief, which exuded the smell of blood. Xiaomu left her seat when she heard the sound and hurried over. Her face turned pale when she saw the situation. "President Ling, how did this happen?" "Go back to the hospital. The doctor said that you still need to stay in the hospital for observation." "I'm fine." Ling Han took a deep breath and tried his best to steady himself as he walked toward the office desk. However, his steps were a bit unsteady. When he reached the office desk, he casually tossed the handkerchief into the black trash can and looked up at Xiaomu. "You don't need to tell her about this kind of thing." Xiaomu was naturally well aware of who he was referring to by her. He knew that he was beyond redemption for causing this situation today. When he thought of Ling Han's body, he felt even more regret. The 1.8-meter tall man stood behind the door with reddened eyes. "President Ling, whether you're willing or not, I have to ask the doctor to come and take a look at you." "I said there's no need." Ling Han frowned. "Go back to your seat and do what you need to do. I know my own body best." It was just that he was pushed by Gu Xinian that day and knocked into a fire hydrant, breaking 2 of his ribs and causing some internal bleeding. He was supposed to stay in the hospital for observation, but Yi Huanyan came back to work. This was his only chance, and he was not willing to lose it. Through the glass door, Yi Huanyan's gaze landed on the tightly shut door of the president's office. Not long after Ling Han went in, Xiaomu opened the door and came out. Her eyes were red, and she looked like she was about to cry. A trace of astonishment flashed through her eyes. She thought of Ling Han's temper, and how he would vent his anger on his subordinates whenever something went wrong. She did not know how much Xiaomu had suffered this time. Originally, as a colleague, she would express her concern, but when she thought of the things that Xiaomu had done, she was too lazy to ask. She only took a glance, and then turned back to continue doing her own thing. Su Nianhua's birthday party was imminent, and the plan given by the planning department was very sloppy. Yi Huanyan could not help but suspect that Ling Han's suppression of Su Nianhua had led to the department not being able to fulfill their duties. He even deliberately made things difficult for Su Nianhua, so she took the initiative to take on this case. No matter what kind of relationship she had with Su Nianhua in the past, or what kind of past they had, she was very moved by this person's existence after these days of interaction. He was her friend, and also one of the few family members in this world who truly cared about her. Late at night, in a 2-story villa in the suburbs, a woman with a pure face was lying on a large dark gold bed. She wore a sailor suit that exposed her waist, and laid flat on the silky champagne-colored sheets. Her long hair cascaded down her side, and a fat man was panting heavily on top of her. A pair of chubby hands reached into her sailor suit and squeezed vigorously, while his lower body kept moving in and out. The woman was very cooperative and let out moans of "mum." Her face was flushed red. Her slender hands gently slid across the man's back, causing him to shudder. The woman panted delicately, "Mum, darling, thank you for saving Guagua. Guagua has nothing to repay you with." The man smiled lecherously and rubbed her round bottom. "Little vixen, who said I have nothing to repay you with? Aren't you repaying me now?" The woman humphed shyly. "You only know how to make fun of me." Her shy expression was on point, and her slender waist moved even more vigorously. She moaned in pleasure, and her seductive eyes made the man addicted to her, unable to extricate himself. He wanted nothing more than to die on top of her, not to mention the little requests she made in his ear. "Darling, as long as you follow me, all that you said won't be a problem. Come change your position." The woman turned around with the man and sat up. She covered her face and said, "Darling, you're so annoying. You always have so many tricks up your sleeves. I can't stand it anymore." The man's expression became more and more excited, and not long after he made a comeback. Chapter 296. After work, Ling Han appeared in front of the secretary's office. "I will send you back." Yi Huanyan packed her things and did not even look up. "No need. There is a traffic jam during peak hours. It is more convenient for me to take the subway." Ling Han threw his car keys to Xiaodong and took Xiaodong's MRT card to accompany her on the subway. Through the crowded crowd, he pulled the ring of the subway and cut open a relatively ample space in the corner of the carriage where Yi Huanyan was standing. He impatiently squeezed through the men, who tried to lean on Yi Huanyan one after another. Yi Huanyan was leaning against the corner and looking at Dong Xuebing coldly without saying a word. In the subway, there were beautiful girls who kept staring at him. There were also handsome young men who couldn't take their eyes off Yi Huanyan. Some of them even asked for her contact details. Ling Han said, "This is my wife." The young man who asked for Dong Xuebing's number blushed. Yi Huanyan said, "I don't know him." The young man's face turned even paler. The pretty girl accidentally bumped into Ling Han's arms and blushed. She waited for the subway to stop and bumped into him again. Ling Han was the first to lose his patience. He changed his position and turned his back to the girl. He was looking at Yi Huanyan carefully. Dong Xuebing was looking at the young man's phone calmly. "This game of yours is very interesting." The young man blushed and moved closer to Dong Xuebing to teach her how to play the game. Ling Han's face turned cold. He was about to lose his temper when he saw Yi Huanyan giving him a sarcastic look. He could only suppress his anger and stare at the young man who was playing the game. He stared at him until his hair stood on end. It was already dark when they got off the subway and returned to the apartment. Dong Xuebing and Dong Xuebing kept a 5 meters distance from each other and walked one after the other. Yi Huanyan kept glancing at Dong Xuebing from time to time. She could see his clothes and hear his steady footsteps. These days lasted for a week. On this day, Ling Han was waiting for Yi Huanyan to get off work at the entrance of the secretary's office. Without a word, Yi Huanyan packed up her things and entered the elevator. She directly pressed the button for the basement floor. Ling Han's gaze froze. "You're not taking the subway today?" "I'm taking the bus today." These 4 words made Ling Han wild with joy. After getting off the elevator, he touched his pocket and suddenly realized that the car keys were still with Xiaodong. His face immediately froze, and there was a hint of anxiety in his tone. "That Yin, wait for me. I'll ask Xiaodong to bring the keys over." Yi Huanyan acted as if she didn't hear him and walked straight into the depths of the garage. Dong Xuebing's white sports car drove out of the garage and rolled down the windows. Su Nianhua was in the driver's seat. Dong Xuebing nodded at Dong Xuebing with a gentle smile. The smile on Ling Han's face gradually froze. He stared blankly as Yi Huanyan got into the car without looking back and drove off. Dong Xuebing's fingers were trembling as he held onto his phone. Dong Xuebing panicked and held onto the wall for support. He could smell blood in his chest. "Cough!" Dong Xuebing coughed violently, and there was a puddle of blood on the concrete floor. Had her love for him really come to an end? Dong Xuebing's eyes dimmed as he looked into the distance. In the car, Su Nianhua held onto the steering wheel and asked, "There should be no problems at the birthday party. I can go to the rehearsal myself, but you are not feeling well. You can go back and rest. I think it's better to keep an eye on them. Don't let the staff slack off. There must not be any problems with the props. What if the fans lose control and throw a light at the party? It will be a disaster." Su Nianhua couldn't dissuade her and could only sigh helplessly. She thought of Ling Han's stunned and disappointed look just now and couldn't help but ask, I saw that Ling Han's expression was very bad. Didn't you tell him that you were going to the rehearsal with me? After returning to Pleasure City, Yi Huanyan started to prepare for Su Nianhua's birthday party. He personally took care of everything, from the big bookings to the small gifts given to the fans. Other than wanting to make the birthday party perfect, Dong Xuebing also wants to let Dong Xuebing handle all the secretarial work. In the 6 months after she left the company, Xiao Dong was almost like a figurehead secretary. He had only learned a little from Yi Huanyan, so he didn't know anything. As a result, he didn't have any confidence even though he was in a high position. She was busy with her work, and Ling Han was trying his best to smile. It was as if everything was reversed. This kind of concession was enough to make an ordinary woman content. However, Yi Huanyan was not this kind of person. When she heard Su Nianhua's question, she frowned. My current relationship with him is not enough for me to tell him everything. No matter what he suspects, I did not do it. I am not guilty. It is not my fault for suspecting someone. It is his own fault. Even though Qiao Mu admitted that he secretly switched the paternity test results, she still felt that it was Ling Han's fault for trusting others and suspecting his wife. Suspicion and jealousy were Yi Huanyan's biggest disappointment in him. Ling Han did not know that Yi Huanyan gave him a chance in hopes that he would learn to trust others. Su Nianhua was very clear about Yi Huanyan's thoughts. If there was anyone in this world who truly understood Yi Huanyan, it would be Ji Xiaoye and Ji Xiaoye. Their youthful love might have become a thing of the past for Yi Huanyan, but in the past 10 years, Su Nianhua had repeatedly recalled and deliberated over her every word and every expression in his heart. He knew her stubbornness and pride, and he also understood her fragility and sadness. He was clear about her cluelessness, and he also knew her intelligence and kindness. His understanding of her had already penetrated deep into his bones. He also knew that the past was the past. They could not start over again. No matter how much she hated that person had already occupied her entire heart, and no one else could enter it. The obsession that started from returning to the country ended with his own hesitation in front of the operating room. Ling Han did not hesitate to say, "Save the Lord." In his eyes, he cared wholeheartedly about Yi Huanyan. He only cared about her as a person. Oh right, on the program list. Was it you who arranged for Sheng Anren to be the special guest at my birthday party? Su Nianhua suddenly remembered this. Yi Huanyan nodded and said seriously, "She's famous enough, and there's enough talk about her. She's also from the same company, so the outside world won't say anything even if we ask her to help. Moreover, she owed him such a large debt, so it was natural for him to ask her to do something for free. Just because of that?" Su Nianhua asked. Yi Huanyan was slightly taken aback, but soon after, as if she wanted to give him a hint, she nodded firmly. "MHM. Su Nianhua furrowed his brows, revealing a somewhat worried expression. Some people might not think that way. Chapter 297. In the villa of Jinjiang Court, Ling Han walked into the house with his suit jacket. Ling carefully observed his face. "Young master, you are back. The meal is ready." Ling Han threw the jacket on the sofa and walked towards the second floor with a sullen face. Ling stood in the living room, looked back at the dishes on the table, and sighed silently. After Yi Huanyan left, this house had no vitality at all. The young master's temper was unpredictable. Although the salary was high, it made her feel uncomfortable all over. Ling Han entered the bedroom, pulled the safe, and took out the napkin portrait that was not much bigger than a palm. He gave it to Su Meng to repair at the beginning. After she repaired it, she added a wooden frame outside, made a special seal, and pressed it very flat. There were only a few strokes on the portrait with a ballpoint pen, but it was very charming. There was a gentle smile at the corners of his eyes and eyebrows. That was himself 8 years ago, or the self in Yi Huanyan's heart 8 years ago. He never thought that he was a gentle person, whether to his friends or family. In his impression, he always seemed to be very impatient when they were around. After leaving home in his teens, he lived in the United States. As soon as he turned 18, he moved out and rented a bachelor apartment. He had never seen what real feelings were like, And he didn't remember how his parents got along with each other before Jiang Milan appeared in Ling Dongming's life. He didn't deny that he was emotionally deficient, but he had no strategy to deal with it. That portrait was one of the more special things that Yi Huanyan had given him. In fact, he still had many things that she had given him, either intentionally or unintentionally. There was the thumb-sized Statue of Liberty tied with a red string, a little frog that could bounce, a pink fountain pen, and a pair of gloves with a white ball of fluff. In the depths of the safe, there was also a half-woven scarf. Yi Huanyan's handiwork was very good. The half-woven scarf was very smooth, and the gray cashmere felt very warm. The needle fell off halfway. At that time, he had just received the news that Ling Dongming and Jiang Milan had a car accident. Later, he didn't continue to knit the scarf and put it away quietly. In the past, he had locked many things in this safe, including many memories, until he saw Yi Huanyan's cold attitude towards him for the past 2 days. Saw her get into Su Nianhua's car without looking back. Saw the man in the car smiling gently and dotingly. He suddenly realized that he had lost his entire world. It seemed that he should be angry. If it were him in the past, he would definitely rush up to Yi Huanyan and drag her home. He would fiercely scold her, humiliate her verbally, and ask her why she was so fickle and shameless. But now, there was a deep sense of powerlessness spreading in his heart. She was a free person and never owed him anything. However, she was treated as a tool for him to vent his anger on Wen Qingwan's accidental death. He treated her unreasonably for an entire year. What right did he have to be angry with her and ask her to do as she wished? The night was waning, and a lonely shadow was printed on the curtain, swaying until dawn. After work for 3 days in a row, Yi Huanyan followed Su Nianhua to the scene of the birthday party to arrange the dress rehearsal. This was the first birthday party of Su Nianhua after he returned to China. It was also a return to his fans, which was equivalent to a solidification of fans. So it was a very important thing for him. The day before the birthday party, Yi Huanyan went to Fengshan to get the costume for Su Nianhua's birthday party. She met Su Mang, who had just come back from Bali. There was a handsome middle-aged man beside him, who was Li Ao, whom she had met at the scene of the last dinner party. Su Mang asked Ji Xiaoye to get the costume, and then invited Yi Huanyan to sit down in the office. I've been on a business trip for a long time this time. I didn't know until I came back that you didn't have a good time before. How are you recently? Su Mang casually covered up Yi Huanyan's miscarriage and asked very carefully. Yi Huanyan held the coffee cup and smiled slightly. Sister Su Mang, thank you for your concern. I'm fine recently. I heard that you went back to work at Pleasure again. Su Mang smiled meaningfully. I thought that you wouldn't go back, so I wanted to poach you to work for me. You worked for me for 2 months before, and you did a much better job than my 2 assistants. Yi Huanyan looked up at Su Mang. The employees of Fengshan cooperate very well, and it didn't cost me much. If Sister Su Mang still needs my help in the future, just let me know. I need your help. I'm afraid I have to ask for your boss's opinion. When you first came to my place, it was I who begged him to reluctantly agree. He repeatedly told me not to let you tire yourself out. Look at him. It's as if my company is a place that eats people without spitting out bones. Yi Huanyan was slightly stunned and asked hesitantly, Sister Su Mang, you must be kidding. At that time, Ling Han hated her too much. How could he ask Su Mang to take care of her? At that time, I meant to let you go to Paris with me on a business trip. But Xiao Yu went to Yunnan, and I was short of 1 person. The day before I went there, I told Ling Han about it. He refused at once, saying that if he took you to Paris, he wouldn't lend you to me. Su Mang looked at her expression with interest. She rolled her eyes in her eye sockets. Ling Han's temper is not like my teacher's at all, but his character is unquestionable. My teacher is gentle and elegant, and so is his wife. It's just that the 2 of them have always been too indifferent to each other. They have never cared much about Ling Han, and sent him abroad early. He is not a bad person, but he lacks feelings. Yi Huanyan was a little absent-minded. Su Mang talked to herself for a while. She talked about the napkin portrait that was sold at a sky-high price at the charity banquet last year. She also talked about the 2 months when Yi Huanyan worked in Fengshan. Ling Han asked someone to take care of her openly and secretly. She even mentioned a lot of things that happened before the relationship between Yi Huanyan and Ling Han became rigid. Su Meng was almost 40 years old this year. She took good care of herself. She looked like she was in her early 30s. 10 years ago, when Yi Huanyan just joined the Ling family, Su Meng had just graduated for 2 years. She was working as Yi Huanyan's chief secretary in the Department of Pleasure. During the time when Yi Huanyan followed Jiang Milin into the Ling family, Su Meng suddenly quit her job. She changed from the chief secretary in the Department of Pleasure to a lowly secretary in Fengshan. It only took her 3 years to become the chief editor from the secretary in the Department of Pleasure. Although she was 40 years old now, she was beautiful and a big shot in the fashion industry. She was not short of young men who were pursuing her. But it was not until 2 years ago that people heard that she was in a relationship. 2 years ago, on the night of the New Year's Eve, the paparazzi photographed her drunk in a bar in Hokkaido, Japan. Li Ao was accompanying her. Su Meng looked at Yi Huanyan with a kind of loving attitude of an elder. My teacher is really rational. She knows what she wants and doesn't want, what can be compromised, and what is the bottom line. But Ling Han is different. He is like a ripe persimmon. He looks perfect when he is red, but in fact, only those who eat him know how unripe he is inside. Chapter 298. Sister Su Meng, do you want to persuade me to reconcile with him? Yes. Su Meng answered straightforwardly, and didn't mean to hide her purpose at all. Maybe you will think that I don't think for you at all when I persuade you like this. I know how much you have been wronged by Ling Han, but I just want to say a few words for him. Maybe others don't see it, but I know that he cares about you very much. Yi Huanyan put down the coffee cup and raised her eyes to look at Su Meng lightly. Before Grandma passed away, she also hoped that I could tolerate his temper and be with him well. Grandma also said that he cares about me very much. People close to them seemed to be able to see that Ling Han didn't care about her at all. But what she felt was that he had never been soft-hearted. I can't be sure now whether he cares about me or not. I only know that I can't let go of the hurt I suffered for a while. But even if you don't say this, I know that I will forgive him in the end. Time can let go of everything. Su Meng was slightly stunned. She didn't expect that Yi Huanyan could say such words. In fact, she had no choice but to speak for Ling Han. She knew that Yi Huanyan was actually a woman with her own ideas. She was soft on the outside but tough on the inside. This time, Ling Han really broke her heart. She was afraid that she wouldn't be willing to turn back. I thought you thought that I couldn't forgive him again, right? Yi Huanyan looked at Su Meng seriously with sadness in her eyes. I told him that I submitted a divorce lawsuit to the court, and he believed it. I also said that I have no feelings for him now, and he also believed it. Before, when I said that the child was his, he didn't believe it. When I said that I loved him, he also didn't believe it. He didn't believe what was true, and he believed what was false. Isn't it ridiculous? When she was just discharged from the hospital, she really thought that she couldn't forgive him again. But since Qiao Mu told her about the matter of swapping the paternity test results, she suddenly felt pity in her heart. In fact, if she looked carefully at Ling Han, she found that there was no one he could trust with confidence. Needless to say, Shang Anren, but even Qiao Mu was the same. For a person who lives in lies and deceit, why should I force him to completely believe me? She finally convinced herself to forgive him. When Ji Xiaoye walked into the office with several sets of costumes, Yi Huanyan and Su Meng both looked serious. Seeing her come in, Yi Huanyan quickly stood up and took the costumes from her. When she was leaving, Su Meng suddenly called her. Yan Yan, if you need my help, just tell me. Ji Xiaoye looked at Yi Huanyan in confusion. However, she saw Su Nianhua smile faintly. There's nothing else. I just want you to help Su Nianhua with his connections in the fashion industry in the future. After saying this, Yi Huanyan said goodbye to Ji Xiaoye. Ji Xiaoye walked her to the door, and then turned back to the office. She touched the corner of the table and asked Su Meng, Chief Editor, did Yan Yan say something to you? Has she decided to be with Brother Hua? Su Meng leaned lazily on the chair and glanced at Ji Xiaoya from the corner of his eyes. Since you are so gossipy, why don't you be the editor of your entertainment page? Hearing this, Ji Xiaoya smiled embarrassedly. I won't ask. I won't ask. Su Meng looked at the direction Yi Huanyan went with a gentle smile in his eyes. The old lady of the Ling family really had a good taste. She had such a good character and a good brain. She was really not comparable to Sheng Anren, a vulgar woman. It just depended on whether Ling Han knew how to cherish her. On the day of Su Nianhua's birthday party, banners, colored lights, and support cards were piled up all over the entrance of the venue. This time, the tickets were all picked up on the spot. The tickets were free on a first-come first-served basis. Each person could only buy one ticket with his or her ID card. This was to prevent scalpers from secretly manipulating the ticket price. However, it still failed to prevent scalpers from reselling fake tickets. When the tickets were checked, several girls were blocked at the door and burst into tears. The staff at the scene had no choice. They had planned to call the security guards, but Yi Huanyan arrived at the scene and called the girls aside. The three girls looked to be in their early 20s. One of them cried the most and couldn't speak clearly. Yi Huanyan had to ask the two girls next to her. One of them said, "We came here from the capital. We took the train for a day and a night. We spent all our money on the tickets. We didn't expect that we bought fake tickets." The other one looked at Yi Huanyan sobbing. "Sister, can you find a way to take us in? We will pay you any price." Probably because they thought that they had no money now, they added after 2 seconds, "We don't have money now. If it's not enough, sister, give us your contact information. We will give you the money when we go home." Yi Huanyan had a long-lost strange feeling in her heart. When she was their age, she also went to other cities to watch concerts with her roommates. At that time, it was Ji Xiaoya who bought the tickets. She swore that it was twice as cheap as outside. As a result, when the four of them arrived at the door, they were found to have fake tickets. Ji Xiaoya cried heartbreakingly at the door alone. This was probably the situation of the three girls now. "The tickets are sold out. We definitely don't have any." Yi Huanyan looked at them helplessly. The three of them looked depressed. Yi Huanyan smiled and said, "But if you meet me, I can find a way to meet Su Nianhua backstage. I can ask him to sign an autograph for you and take a photo together, okay?" The three of them looked at each other. After a while they burst out screaming. The three girls were so excited that they couldn't control themselves. One of them hugged Yi Huanyan and kept saying thank you. Yi Huanyan was knocked into the chest by the passionate hug. For a moment, she couldn't get used to it. She was stunned for a few seconds, and a smile appeared in her eyes. Su Nianhua was preparing in the dressing room. When he saw Yi Huanyan come in with three young girls, he was stunned. They're your fans." Yi Huanyan smiled apologetically and said, "They bought tickets from scalpers outside and couldn't get in. So, I helped to do you a favor. Before the birthday party starts, I brought them in to see you. After they sign an autograph and take a photo, I'll bring them out. It won't affect other arrangements." The three girls were very lively. On the way in, they chattered with Yi Huanyan for a long time about Su Nianhua. In the end, when they saw their idol in person, they were stunned. They saw the three of them staring at them. Su Nianhua was a little embarrassed. He smiled and said, "Isn't it a little different from what you see on TV? Are you disappointed?" The three of them shook their heads like a rattle drum. The girl who had been crying outside the door explained anxiously, No, Brother Hua, you're very good looking. You look like a fairy." As soon as she said that, Su Nianhua was stunned. Yi Huanyan and the staff next to them laughed out loud. She described a man like a fairy. The girl really knew how to praise people. After signing an autograph and taking a photo together, the three girls followed Yi Huanyan out of the venue with satisfaction. The little crybaby from before was now lively and cheerful again. She even asked Yi Huanyan in a gossipy manner, "Sister, what's your relationship with Brother Hua? Are you his assistant?" "I don't think so. You guys seem to have a good relationship." Chapter 299. Yi Huanyan was slightly stunned. Just a very good friend. The little crying bag stared with her big eyes. "Sister, You are so beautiful and so nice. If our brother Hua finds a girlfriend like you, we will be relieved." When she said that, the other two girls echoed, "Yes, yes, it's better than finding someone in the entertainment circle. Brother Hua's scandals make us feel suffocated. Sister, you look more suitable for our brother Hua." "You've really misunderstood," Yi Huanyan explained, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. The three girls talked at once, as if they believed that Yi Huanyan was Su Nianhua's hidden girlfriend. After sending the three girls outside the venue, Yi Huanyan explained her identity clearly. She was just the person in charge of the birthday party sent by the agency. When he left, the little crybaby still had a skeptical look on his face. Although they couldn't enter the venue, they could hear the singing inside the venue. So the three girls found a step outside and squatted down to wait for the birthday party to end. "Shanshan, it would be great if brother Hua and sister Yi were together. If that's the case, we fans are quite lucky. Even if we get married, it won't affect us from chasing celebrities." "I think so too." Brother Hua's eyes are gentle when he looks at sister Yi. When the two friends around her were discussing, the little crying bag looked through her mobile phone and accidentally turned to a news article from a year ago. In the news, Su Nianhua's rumored girlfriend was blurred out. The person who was picked up at the concert site, and the person who was covered by him and ran away after eating in a restaurant in Shanghai was completely the same person. After a long while, the little crying bag faintly interrupted the conversation between the two. "What do you know? Sister Yi is once bitten, twice shy. She has been troubled by those brainless fans so many times. Of course, she won't dare to admit it." Inside the venue, the birthday party was at the climax. Sheng Anren, wearing a dark purple dress, pushed a 3-layer cake cart onto the stage, representing the artists of pleasure media, to celebrate Su Nianhua's birthday. Although reluctant in her heart, Sheng Anren still smiled very warmly, and the acting talent of the movie queen was fully displayed by her. Su Nianhua forced a smile on the script that had been arranged long ago. No matter how the host teased him, the corner of his eyes fell on the shadow in the corner of the stage, the smiling figure. 28 candles were lit on the top layer of the 3-layer cake, and the fans shouted for him to make a wish. He held the microphone in his ear and said in a gentle and delicate voice, "People say that birthday wishes will only come true if they are hidden in the heart. But I think it's easier to say it out loud and let the relevant people hear it." The cheering fans gradually quieted down, and Yi Huanyan was also stunned. She looked through the script. There didn't seem to be such a part. A dream in 10 years, a dream for 10 years. 11 years ago, when I didn't plan to become a singer, my first fan told me that if I became famous, she would be my agent and assistant in the future and organize the most perfect concert and birthday party for me. Backstage, a tall and straight figure came. After hearing Su Nianhua's voice from the loudspeaker, he gradually stopped. The voice from the loudspeaker was very gentle. It was Su Nianhua's nostalgia for their past, and also respect. With a sincere attitude, he announced his past relationship to the public and reminded his fans, "She is an irreplaceable existence in my life. I care about her and all of you. That's why I'm sharing this story with you. I hope that if there are any friends who know the inside story, please don't disturb her. She is a very, very, very good girl. I let her down back then." He admitted his mistakes, protected her, cherished her, and protected her peace and happiness. In the past year, he had done everything he could to make up for it. Ling Han leaned against the wall of the backstage corridor, took out a cigarette, and lit it with a pop. He smoked one cigarette after another until Su Nianhua finished telling their story, and his blessings to Yi Huanyan. In the smoke, he became a complete outsider. After the birthday party ended, Su Nianhua was escorted backstage by the security guards, surrounded by fans. By the time he finished signing the photo album and finishing up some other work, it was already late at night. The cleaners at the scene were packing up balloons, glow sticks, and other things. Most of the staff had left. Yi Huanyan had to prepare for the promotional work after the birthday party, so she rushed back to the company early to work overtime. After it was over, Su Nianhua put on a jacket and declined Remy's offer to send him back to the apartment. He put on a mask and walked out alone from the back door. but he saw Ling Han at the back door. "Are you free? Let's have a drink." Su Nianhua was slightly stunned. He was surprised that he would coincidentally meet Ling Han here. Soon after, he laughed self-deprecatingly. "Director Ling really knows my whereabouts clearly. He even knew that he came out from the back door." A trace of awkwardness flashed through Ling Han's eyes, but he had no intention of explaining. Su Nianhua, on the other hand, opened the door and got in the car, looking like he didn't care. "Let's go. I want to have a drink too." At the headquarters of the pleasure group, Yi Huanyan sent the materials of Su Nianhua's birthday party to the publicity department's email. Then she took a cup of coffee to the pantry. She was destined to work overtime tonight. Su Nianhua's reminiscence of the past at the birthday party had already rushed to the top of the hot search list. The entire company's public relations department and Su Nianhua's studio were flooded with calls. The media was asking about the protagonist of the relationship and whether Su Nianhua was still single. It was common for Su Nianhua to be involved in scandals. Sometimes he had to cooperate with the company to create some hype. After all, a male artist who didn't have any scandals all year round was more likely to be suspected of being gay, which wasn't good for his image. Just as she came back from making coffee, she suddenly heard a noise from the office. Yi Huanyan was slightly stunned. She was the only one working overtime on the entire president's office floor. In order to save electricity, she only turned on a hallway light and a desk lamp in the secretary's office. Now that she suddenly heard the noise, she couldn't help but panic. However, the building's security guards were on patrol 24 hours a day, so she wasn't worried about a thief. Thinking that it might be the public relations department looking for her, she boldly walked towards the office. When she walked to the door, she saw that the door to the president's office was open. It was dark inside, and there was a rustling sound. She was slightly stunned and asked hesitantly, "Who's inside?" No one answered. She carefully walked into the door and fumbled for the switch on the wall. Suddenly, she was surrounded by a strong smell of alcohol. She cried out in alarm, and before she could react, her whole body was pressed against the wall. Her entire back fell into a broad embrace, and that person wrapped his arms around her shoulders from behind. The coffee cup in her hand fell to the floor with a loud noise, and the hot coffee spilled all over the floor with steam rising from it. Chapter 300. Other than that cry of surprise, Yi Huanyan didn't make any other sound. She didn't even struggle. She used her fastest speed to smell the familiar scent on his body. It was strange that the smell of alcohol was so strong that it almost suffocated her. But she was very sure that the person who was hugging her and refusing to let go was Ling Han. The side of her face was pressed against the wall. Her neck was filled with his heavy and disorderly breathing. "Let go of me." She lowered her voice. He buried her head in his shoulder and said in a hoarse voice, "Just for a while. Let me hug you for a while more, and I'll let you go." After saying this, he tightened his grip on her shoulder, almost suffocating her. Seeing that he didn't do anything else, Yi Huanyan gradually relaxed. Silence filled the air. She asked hesitantly, "Did you drink too much?" "Yeah." He hummed softly in her ear. Yi Huanyan frowned and asked in a deep voice, "Why did you drink? Who did you drink with?" She remembered that there was no drinking party today. It was his day off. As if he didn't hear her, he muttered, "You're leaving, Yin Yan. You're leaving, aren't you? You still have him in your heart. I'll let you go." When she heard this, the fire in Yi Huanyan's heart surged. Finally, she impatiently struggled out of his embrace. She turned around and put her hands on his shoulders. She growled, "Who else do I have in my heart? Are you done? You're always suspecting this and that. Do you have persecutory delusions?" He stood in front of Yi Huanyan at 185 meters tall. He was a head taller than her, but he didn't have any aura. His eyes were full of pain, and his voice was choked with sobs. "Yin Yin, you hate me, don't you?" In the dark, Yi Huanyan couldn't see his expression clearly. She only felt that she had never seen him so down and down. Her heart tightened. She pursed her lips and couldn't be bothered to explain anything to a drunkard. "You should rest if you're drunk. You can't go home like this. Just make do with the sofa for the night. I'll get you a blanket." I agree to the divorce. A deep voice came from behind, making Yi Huanyan feel as if she was in a dream. She turned around to look at him in a daze and said coldly, "What did you say?" His eyes were full of fatigue, and he took a deep breath. His voice was not loud, but it echoed in the empty and cold office. "If you still have Su Nianhua in your heart, I'll let you go and fulfill your wish. Don't hate me." Hearing this, Yi Huanyan was furious. She pushed him hard and said angrily, "Okay, divorce. Divorce me tomorrow morning. Divorce me as soon as possible, so that you can stay with Sheng Anren as soon as possible." Ling Han was already drunk, and his steps were unsteady. After being pushed by Yi Huanyan, he was even more flustered. He staggered and fell straight to the floor. Yi Huanyan exclaimed and subconsciously grabbed his hand, but she didn't expect that she couldn't hold his weight. Both of them fell to the carpet. When they fell to the ground, Ling Han groaned and asked anxiously, "Yin Yin, are you okay? Where are you hurt?" In the dark, Yi Huanyan was in his arms. Her whole body was lying on his chest. When she heard his urgent question, her heart trembled. She looked up at him, her dark eyes shining brightly in the dark. She didn't even think about it. She held his shoulder and kissed him on the lips. What could she do to make him understand that he was the only one in her heart? Even if he hurt her all over and made her want to die, he was still the only one in her heart. The sudden kiss made Ling Han's expression turn sluggish. The softness that came from his lips made his mind go blank. After flipping over, he was intoxicated, and for a moment, he could not tell whether this was a dream or reality. In a dreamlike state, the woman's graceful body was lying on the ground. His slightly cold hands reached into her shirt, causing her to shiver. Her skirt was tied around her waist, revealing the beautiful scenery of her lower body. His thin and slender hands pulled off her black stockings from her round breasts, all the way to her ankles. Through a thin layer of lace underwear, she could feel his hot friction. Yi Huanyan widened her eyes and clenched her teeth. She still couldn't help but let out a moan of ecstasy. Ling Han's eyes brightened. He tore off all the restraints and lifted her soft waist. Between a pair of white and soft thighs, there was an iron-like heat cruelly interspersed. The man's heavy groan, the woman's coquettish moan, the sound of the man and woman's bodies intertwining, and the sound of clothes rubbing against each other as they rolled on the carpet. It was like a symphony of lust getting stronger and faster. For the whole night, they greedily demanded each other's body. Outside the large floor-to-ceiling glass window in the office, the lights of Lanjiang City could be seen. Inside the window, the fog was naturally rising temperature. In the dim light, the two people who were rolling on the ground madly made love. They crazily enjoyed this passionate night, using their hot bodies to vent the desire in each other's hearts. The night was waning, dawn was coming, and the east showed a touch of white. When Ling Han woke up from the black leather sofa, he was covered with a thin beige woolen blanket. The room was clean and tidy, except for his naked body. There was no trace of last night's passion in the entire office. He had a splitting headache and sat on the sofa in a daze. A wet dream? This wet dream was a little too realistic. With a hangover, Ling Han took a shower in the office before coming out. Wrapped in a large gray bathrobe, he stepped barefoot on the carpet. Just as he was tying the belt, he suddenly felt that the soles of his feet were a little sticky. He was stunned and lowered his head to look at his feet. Near the door, there was a stain on the brown plush carpet that couldn't be seen if he didn't look carefully. This stain made a small piece of the carpet stick together. He squatted down and touched it, smelling a faint coffee aroma on his fingertips. Last night, the coffee cup fell to the ground. The groan when he fell, the pain from his waist, and the sound of clothes rubbing against each other flashed through his mind. This wasn't a dream. That lingering kiss that she took the initiative to do was real. For a moment he was wild with joy. He couldn't wait to cut this stain off and keep it forever. Ji Xiaoya's bedside alarm rang twice. Sleepily, she sat up and saw a sneaky figure in the living room. She rubbed her eyes and said in a daze, "Yin Yin, don't tell me you worked overtime last night and only came back now." Yi Huanyan's back stiffened, and she turned her head guiltily. "Yes, it was too late to work overtime. I just came back. Ling Han is really crazy. Yi Huanyan was completely guilty and timid. When she heard Ling Han's name suddenly she retorted, "What does me working overtime have to do with him? It's not like I worked overtime with him." Ji Xiaoya looked at her strangely. "Isn't he your boss? Isn't it because he made you work overtime?" Yi Huanyan looked embarrassed. "Hey, why do you look so pale? Why are you sweating so much?" Yi Huanyan hurriedly avoided her gaze and stuttered, I'm fine. Go wash up. I'll go to work after I change." Chapter 301. Huanyu Group's President's Office. Xiao Dong knocked on the door of the President's office. "Come in." Dong Xuebing did not think much and pushed the door open. Ling Han was sitting behind his desk in a linen suit. The sun shines on him, and he looks bright and gentle. That smile that was like a spring breeze and that kind. "What's the matter?" Xiao Dong was stunned. She thought she had entered the wrong office for the wrong person. "Manager Ling?" Xiao Dong paused for a few seconds and looked at Ling Han. "Manager Ling, are you looking for me?" "Yes." Ling Han coughed dryly and remembered the important matter. He asked seriously, "Secretary Yi hasn't come to work today?" It's already 12 a.m., and it's lunchtime. Although Dong Xuebing should be resting now, there is no news from her, and her line is busy. He walked around the office with his phone like a headless chicken. In the end, he decided to ask Xiao Dong about it. After asking this question, Xiao Dong was surprised. "You don't know?" "Know what?" Ling Han was surprised. Xiao Dong took a deep breath. The internet is in an uproar. This morning, Su Nianhua's fans posted on Twitter that Su Nianhua had announced his relationship with Secretary Yi. Secretary Yi was called to Su Nianhua's studio for a meeting at 8:30 am. Now the entire PR department is preparing for the press conference. Ling Han's face changed and he stood up. His tall figure blocked most of the sunlight behind him. "Twitter announced their relationship?" Xiao Dong was shocked and hesitated. Yes, it was announced. Su Nianhua's Twitter account had announced it, but the studio had not given us a response. After Pleasure Group's artists leaked confidential information 2 months ago, the company was restructured, and the PR department was in charge of the artists' public relations. The PR department had to monitor the situation online. Ling Han had delegated this authority to the PR department, and this was to strengthen the PR department's ability to handle matters independently. However, the drawback of this matter was that no one came to report such a big matter to him. How is this possible? How could they announce their relationship? She had just shared a bed with him last night, and today she announced her relationship with Su Nianhua. This was impossible. He had to ask clearly. Thinking of this, he immediately picked up his coat and strode out of the office. In Su Nianhua's studio, a large oval office table was surrounded by a group of people. His agent, his assistant, the person in charge of Pleasure's public relations department, as well as the main characters of this incident, Su Nianhua and Yi Huanyan, were all present. The one who spoke was Director Ferlin of the Public Relations Department. Right now, there are 2 ways to deal with this matter. One is to go with the flow and simply admit it first. Let's let Hua Xia and Secretary Yi announce to the public that they have been in a relationship for a period of time. The main reason is that we see that the fans are quite optimistic about this relationship. Whether it's for future publicity or for the sake of a positive image, this is undoubtedly the best solution. Before the 2 parties could speak, Remy stood up and objected. "That won't do." Ferlin frowned at him. "Do you have a better idea? In any case, it won't do." Remy was firm. After working for Su Nianhua and Ling Han for so long, if he didn't know what the big boss was thinking, he would have been in this line of work for nothing. Secretary Yi definitely couldn't announce her relationship with Su Nianhua. This definitely wouldn't do Su Nianhua any good. Ferlin had just jumped ship half a year ago, so he didn't know much about the rumors in the company. Seeing Remy's unreasonable expression, he simply ignored his opinion and directly asked the 2 parties involved. Su Nianhua shrugged and looked indifferent. "I'll listen to Yin Yan." Yi Huanyan hesitated and asked, "You said there are 2 ways. What's the other way?" "Kowei Studio has been contacting us recently, hoping to promote a short-term CP with Huanyan. Recently, The rumors about Huan Yin being gay have been spreading too much. We think it wouldn't hurt to take this opportunity to work with them. The rumors about Su Nianhua's homosexuality started half a year ago. However, because the rumored girlfriends around him had been straightforwardly clarified one after another, without any regard for the other party's reputation, many female artists in the industry were now unwilling to interact with him. This time his Twitter account had been stolen. If he clarified, he was afraid that someone would take advantage of this loophole and be entangled in a gay scandal again. However, this Kuwei absolutely couldn't do. Kuwei. Yi Huanyan frowned. Doesn't she like women? Ferlin nodded in tacit agreement. Yi Huanyan immediately rejected it. This won't do. Kuwei's way of doing things is too bold. This matter must have been brought up by her manager. If there's a slip-up and her side comes out of the closet, it will definitely implicate us. Even if we want to promote a CP, we can't do it with their family. This is too risky. I don't agree. When Ling Han arrived, Yi Huanyan was standing in front of the conference room. She crossed out Ferlin's second option with a pen and put a tick on the first option. Then she left a sentence. Prepare for the press conference in the afternoon. The sooner the better. After the conference ended, Yi Huanyan and Su Nianhua walked out side by side. They were talking and laughing very tacitly. Ling Han stood at the corner of the corridor, feeling very uncomfortable. His feet felt like they were filled with lead, and he couldn't move. Ferlin was the last to come out of the conference room. When he saw Ling Han, he reported the contents of the meeting in full detail. He also explained the final choice between the two options. Ling Han asked in a hoarse voice, "She chose the option?" Ferlin nodded. "Yes, Secretary Yi is very straightforward and dutiful for the company. We tentatively plan to date for a year. After a year, when the fans' thoughts fade, we'll leak some rumors of discord." He didn't notice the deep fatigue in Ling Han's eyes. The method of returning Shir to another body was familiar. He used to play along with Sheng Anren. He hid Yi Huanyan behind him and couldn't see the light, while he went in and out with other women under the flashing lights. Now it was his turn, wasn't it? At the press conference in the afternoon, Su Nianhua and Yi Huanyan had a tacit understanding when faced with the reporter's questions. Because it was their first love, there was no need for any script in advance when it came to questions about relationships. They answered truthfully. After the press conference, Yi Huanyan's name and high-definition, uncensored photos were all exposed on the internet. She appeared in the public eye as Su Nianhua's first and current girlfriend. All the major news software crashed, and it became the most popular traffic that year. "Aren't you afraid that he'll misunderstand?" Su Nianhua's gentle voice sounded in the car. In the passenger seat beside him, Yi Huanyan massaged her temples with both hands. She seemed to be in low spirits as she said sullenly, "The incident of you going to the water splashing festival in Thailand last time caused an uproar on the internet. If you deny your relationship with me this time, I'm afraid you'll really become a homosexual. There are priorities. I can't just leave you in the lurch. Besides, he won't misunderstand." Chapter 302. Su Nianhua was confused when he saw how confident Yi Huanyan was. He asked, "When did you start to trust him so much?" Hearing this, Yi Huanyan paused her action of massaging her temples, and a strange blush appeared on her face. Fortunately, her arm blocked her face, so Su Nianhua did not see her expression. She coughed and said, "It's nothing. Don't we still need to go for an interview? Let's go. Don't let the reporters wait for too long." After that day, Yi Huanyan and Su Nianhua were seen together in public for a few days. Xiao Dong was in charge of all the company's work. Originally, the company thought that they needed to spend money to promote their relationship, so as to avoid being boycotted by fans. However, the day after their Twitter account was hacked and their relationship was exposed, the owner of Time Like Water posted a photo of him and Su Nianhua at the birthday party, as well as a chance encounter with Yi Huanyan at the entrance of the birthday party because of scalpers. His words were quite protective of Yi Huanyan. The comment section of the forum was instantly occupied by the supporters of the forum owner. All of them were trying to build momentum for Yi Huanyan. The young lady who took us to see Brother Hua was very nice. At that time, I thought that if Brother Hua had such a girlfriend, we as fans would be relieved. At that time, the girl had not admitted that she was Brother Hua's girlfriend. She must have been scared by the fans when the reporters took photos of them during the concert and at the restaurant. That's why she is willing to be the woman behind Brother Hua. I have seen her before. That girl is generous and kind. She is as pretty as those girls in the rumors. I heard that she is a senior executive in a big company. She is very capable. As everyone knew, Years Like Water was Su Nianhua's first national fan club in China. It was also the most prestigious one among the mini Tieba forums. This was because the owner of the club, Miss Xiaorou, had never been like other fan club owners who charged unreasonable fees. A few years ago, when Su Nianhua was still not famous, she even gave him money to support him. So after Time Like Water posted such a post, the netizens were all in favor of Yi Huanyan. In addition, the company exposed the feelings of 11 years of first love, which created enough momentum for Su Nianhua's new album and publicity. The image of the infatuated prince was established, and the number of fans doubled. The first batch of 50 million pre-sales of the new album was sold out in 5 minutes. After the new album was released, the relationship between the two started to stabilize. The fans' high emotions also calmed down a little. After Yi Huanyan and Su Nianhua finished the road show in Jingdu, the public relations was finally ended was perfect. They then rushed back to Lanjiang City alone. On the highway, Yi Huanyan's driver was Su Nianhua's assistant, Su. When they were about to leave the highway, her phone rang punctually. When they were about to leave the highway, Su's voice came from the phone was, "Have you arrived in Lanjiang City?" Yi Huanyan yawned and moved her stiff limbs in the back seat. She answered lazily, "We just left the highway toll booth. We're already in Lanjiang City. Didn't your event end long ago? Why aren't you resting?" The studio arranged to meet the president of the Jingdu fan club, the owner of Time Like Water, to thank her for this matter. "That's Xiaorou, right?" Yi Huanyan nodded. "We should meet her. But 3 girls came to your birthday party. Which one is that Xiaorou?" On the other end of the phone, Su Nianhua was also confused. "I'm not too sure. Among the 3 girls, the one who left the deepest impression on me was the one whose eyes were swollen like walnuts. And I only remember her eyes." Yi Huanyan laughed out loud. "Don't tell me. I also remember that little crying bag. If it wasn't for the little crying bag, crying her heart out at the entrance of the venue that day, she really wouldn't have noticed them. She was also a genius." In the private room of the Jingdu Garden Hotel restaurant, Su Nianhua was wearing a casual blue suit and listening to music with his headphones. Not long after, the door of the private room was pushed open by his agent, and Xiaorou, who had secretly helped him a lot, was brought in. When Zheng Ro came in through the door, Su Nianhua's headphones were playing a soothing French song. The translated lyrics were, "You rushed to the white snow on the mountaintop, crossed thousands of mountains and rivers, and didn't linger on the scenery passing by. But when you arrived, the snow had already stopped, and the glacier had melted. It turned out that the best time to see snow had passed. You were sad and helpless, and you were lonely. But when you turned around, you saw a snow lotus quietly blooming on the mountaintop." His agent patted him on the shoulder. He turned around and saw a girl wearing a bright yellow sweater and a brown checkered short skirt walking in from the door. She had neat black short hair, beautiful big eyes, and a bright smile. She smiled at him, as if they were close friends. "Brother Hua, long time no see." Yi Huanyan called her little crying bag. After the little crying bag's eyes were no longer swollen, she was a pure and beautiful girl. At first glance, he felt that fate had sent her to him. She was the snow lotus that quietly bloomed after the glacier melted. "Long time no see. I should introduce myself. My name is Lu Shun." The little crying bag was slightly stunned. She seemed to be flattered. Her deer-like eyes suddenly turned into 2 crescent moons. "My name is Zheng Ro." After Yi Huanyan rushed back to Lanjiang City that night, the first thing she did was to return to Pleasure City. Although she knew that it was unlikely that Ling Han would stay in the company at this time, She had something to give him, so she wanted to send it to his office in advance. After entering the office, she took out the spare key and opened the door. In order not to attract attention, she didn't turn on the lights. She groped behind the desk and pulled open the drawer where he usually kept his important things. With the faint light of the phone, she saw the picture of her high school uniform in the drawer. She had watched him tear it up and throw it at his feet. At this moment, it was all properly glued and sealed with plastic paper and placed on the top of the drawer. Her eyes were filled with warmth. She put the black suede box in her hand next to the picture. Just as she was about to get up, she suddenly heard a series of messy footsteps approaching the door. The sound of the door handle turning was particularly clear in the large office. Immediately a low voice sounded. "You can leave now that you've delivered the thing. As for the thing you said, just let Xiaomu do it. Move out of Fujin Garden as soon as possible." "Han, are you so sure that Yi Huanyan will change her mind? What if she doesn't come back? She just announced her relationship with Su Nianhua recently. Although it was decided by the company's public relations, the past on the internet is true. Haven't you thought that maybe she wants to turn the fake into reality?" Sheng Amren's voice was still as coquettish as usual. Even the words she said behind his back were so charming that it distracted him. Chapter 303. Yi Huanyan squatted behind the desk. She wanted to come out, but after hearing Sheng Amren's words, she simply hid tightly. "If you sow discord, then I'll have ears. I'd like to see what you want to do, and then I'll give you a trick at your own game." Sheng Amren's words make Ling Han's action of turning on the light slightly. In the dark, people's vision is not good, but their hearing is very strong. Yi Huanyan clearly hears him take a deep breath, as if he is tired to deal with this topic. There are a few seconds of silence in the air. Even Yi Huanyan's heart is tight. It is undeniable that she is a little afraid. She is afraid of repeating the same mistake. She is afraid that Ling Han will still listen to Sheng Amren's nonsense after experiencing so much. "You don't have to say more. No matter what she thinks or wants to do, I'm ready to help her." Ling Han's voice is a little dull, which makes Yi Huanyan, who is hiding behind the desk, feel a pain in her heart. She can't wait to rush out and tell him her thoughts at the moment. There is no other idea at all. Her idea from beginning to end is just to have a good life with him. "What about me?" Sheng Amren asked. "You help her. Who will help me? I've been with you for so long. Haven't you ever had any feelings for me?" Sheng Amren has been with Ling Han for nearly 2 years. Even if she has no feelings for him, she has pity for him. She is a smart woman, knows when to advance and retreat, knows her limits. She has helped him a lot and saved him a lot of trouble. Ling Han does not deny that he once used an ambiguous position of Mrs. Ling to tempt her to work for him willingly. He does feel a little sorry for her. But it's just 2 words, "I'm sorry." Sheng Amren's eyes are red. She tries her best, but she can't get the man's heart after all. She clenches the transfer certificate of property rights in her hand, takes a deep breath, holds back her tears, and laughs at herself. It's a blessing of 3 lifetimes to let the president of pleasure say these 2 words to me. Ling Han frowns, his indifferent eyes slightly shift 2 inches, and reaches out to turn on the light. With a paw sound, the office was brightly lit. Sheng Amren caught a glimpse of the hem of a woman's beige windbreaker behind the desk from the corner of his eye, and his eyes suddenly froze. Ling Han was about to walk in when she suddenly said, "If you really feel sorry, I hope you can take me home." Ling Han turned his head. "Send you home?" "Yes, send me home. I want you to spend the night with me." Hearing this, Ling Han's face darkened. Without waiting for him to speak, Sheng Amren raised the property transfer materials in his hand. "This is what you owe me." Ling Han's eyes were like frost. He coldly swept his gaze over Sheng Amren's delicate face, and finally landed on the documents she raised. In the end, he stepped forward and walked out of the office. Sheng Amren glanced in the direction of the desk, and a sinister light flashed in her eyes. She turned off the light and followed Ling Han in 10-centimeter high-heeled shoes. When the footsteps were gone, Yi Huanyan stood up with the corner of the table and rubbed her numb calves. She looked at the door with a complicated expression. Sheng Amran's love for Ling Han was stronger than hers, and more unscrupulous than hers. She had to accept it. Would anything happen to them this time? From the tone of Ling Han's words just now, Yi Huanyan could say with certainty, no. The sentence, "I'm ready to fulfill her," was still warm in her heart. She couldn't help smiling, leaned over to close the drawer, hummed a song happily, locked the office door, and then left the group. In Jinjianjiwen, Lingling was a light sleeper. Hearing a rustling sound in the living room, she got up from the bed. Thinking that Ling Han had come back, she hurriedly put on her clothes and went out to pour tea. As soon as she opened the door, she saw a familiar figure standing at the table, drinking water from a glass. She used to use a pair of white ceramic cups with Ling Han. Lingling rubbed her eyes and couldn't believe it. "Miss Yi." Yi Huanyan was stunned and turned around with an apologetic look. "I'm sorry to wake you up. I was a little thirsty, so I boiled water." No. Lingling quickly waved her hand, her eyes red, and even her voice was a little choked. "Miss Yi, you're not leaving this time, right?" Yi Huanyan saw her like this and was confused. "What's wrong with you?" "I'm not leaving. Did the young master scold you when I wasn't here?" Lingling shook her head desperately and sobbed. "He didn't scold me. He just didn't talk. After you left, the young master basically didn't talk at home. We couldn't hear a voice at home all day. I thought that if you didn't come back, I would quit." "Didn't talk? Did he come back often?" "Very rarely, but when he came back, he would stay in the bedroom on the second floor. He wouldn't let me tidy up the things in the house. Look, the floor is covered in dust, and he wouldn't let me wipe it. The magazines you were reading before you left are still on the coffee table. Even your coat is hanging in the hallway. He didn't let me go up to the second floor, and didn't even let me touch the furniture." Hearing this, Yi Huanyan's eyes flashed with a trace of shock. She looked around the entire house and sighed at the same time. "Lingling, I can't sleep here. I'm afraid I'll have to trouble you tonight." She winked at Lingling and smiled faintly. "Let's clean up this house together. I'll be in charge of the second floor, and you'll be in charge of the first floor." She believed that Ling Han would come back tonight, and hoped that he would see a clean house when he came back. Under the light, there were many figures busy and sleepless all night. The next day, Yi Huanyan woke up from the sofa in the bedroom with sleepy eyes. She couldn't even remember when she fell asleep on the sofa. After waking up, she glanced at the time. It was 8 o'clock in the morning. She washed up and was in time to go to work at 9 o'clock. She yawned and went downstairs and asked Lingling if Ling Han had come back last night. Lingling also looked tired. She slowly brought the millet porridge to the table and was stunned when she heard the question. "No, I didn't sleep. I was in the living room the whole time. I didn't hear the sound of the car. The young master probably didn't come back." Yi Huanyan was slightly stunned, and a trace of disappointment appeared in her heart. However, she was still willing to believe that Ling Han didn't spend the night at Xing Inran's. Maybe he went back to the company later. "Lingling, I'll help you with the side dishes." She smiled and walked to the table with a plate of olives. The phone in her pocket vibrated. She stood where she was and took out her phone to take a look. Her hand that was holding the olives trembled violently, and she held them firmly. She clicked on the link and felt her brain explode with a buzzing sound. The link was the headline of the day. A high-powered camera captured the master bedroom on the second floor of Fujin Court. The video of a man and a woman being intimate was solid evidence. The bright title was particularly dazzling in Yi Huanyan's eyes. Movie queen Xing Inran and pleasure group's president Love Nest spent a spring night together. She put the plate in her hand on the table, took a deep breath and slowly exhaled. She forced herself to calm down and kept telling herself, "Yi Huanyan, calm down. This can't be true. It can't be." Lingling's concerned voice came from behind. "Miss Yi, what's wrong with you? Are you not feeling well?" "I'm fine." "Miss Yi, where are you going? Aren't you going to eat breakfast?" Chapter 304. In the president's office of Pleasure Group. When Yi Huanyan rushed to the office, she heard from Xiaodong that Ling Han had gone directly to the public relations department to deal with the news of the day before. She couldn't see him for the whole morning. Near noon, there was a sound of footsteps in the corridor of the secretary's office. She stood up from her seat and strode to the door. But she saw a charming figure walking side by side with Ling Han. It seemed natural for the male and female protagonists of the news to come and go together. Yi Huanyan only felt a pinch in her heart. She couldn't ask a word of what she wanted to ask. When Sheng Amren saw Yi Huanyan, she rolled her eyes and said with a smile, "Secretary Yi, I haven't seen you for a long time. I'm going to have lunch with President Ling. Do you want to join us?" Ling Han's eyes slightly stagnated, and he looked at Yi Huanyan motionlessly. There was a trace of inexplicable expectation for her reaction in his heart. Yi Huanyan's plain face evoked a smile, which was polite and alienated. "No, I have something to deal with." After saying this, she turned around and walked toward her desk, ignoring the two people behind her. There was a trace of ridicule in Sheng Amren's eyes, while Ling Han was at a loss. He stared blankly at the back of the resolute figure as she left. His heart felt empty, even though he had long expected that she would no longer care about what kind of scandals he had, and what kind of women he had around him. This kind of reaction still made him feel as if he had fallen off a cliff. She could forgive, but she would not love again. "Han, let's go. I have something to tell you." Sheng Amren pushed open the door of the president's office with one hand, stepped aside to let go of the way, and reminded Ling Han to go in. Yi Huanyan walked to the desk and paused slightly, but did not look back. Not long after entering the door, Sheng Amren sat at the coffee table and drank tea. Her slender legs were crossed, and her fingers holding the coffee cup were as white as jade. "Han, you don't have to rush me to the press conference to clarify the news. It's not like it hasn't happened before. But I don't see you care so much. The media is just for attention. How many people will remember this kind of thing?" Ling Han glanced at her with indifference in his eyes. "Just do what you need to do. Don't do useless things." Thinking about what had just happened, Ling Han's voice deepened. "Also, don't put on an act in front of Yi Huanyan in the future." Sheng Amren's hand that was holding the cup stiffened slightly. She pursed her lips and whispered, "Got it." Ling Han came back to get a document. Just as he was about to open the drawer on his left, there was a knock on the door. Knock, knock, knock. "President Ling." Yi Huanyan's clear voice pulled back all of Ling Han's thoughts. He immediately sat up straight. "Come in." "President Ling, there is a document for you to sign. Is it convenient now?" Yi Huanyan walked in with a folder in her arms, looking serious. Ling Han nodded. The tiredness in his eyes reduced a little, and his voice was low. "Well, give it to me." When signing, Yi Huanyan glanced at Sheng Amren from the corner of her eyes, and reminded her intentionally or unintentionally. "President Ling, you said before that you wanted to meet Professor Xiao from Fangde at noon today in a restaurant nearby. Do you want to adjust the time?" Without waiting for Ling Han to speak, she emphasized, "Professor Xiao is very busy. It took a month for us to make the appointment today. If we don't go this time, we don't know when the next appointment will be." Pleasure needed Professor Xiao as a cultural consultant for a historical film. Originally, this matter didn't need Ling Han to do it himself, but Professor Xiao was Wen Qingwan's teacher when she was studying for her master's degree, so Ling Han was very respectful to him. Ling Han was slightly stunned. He looked at Yi Huanyan with a hint of surprise in his eyes. Although Professor Xiao was busy, he wasn't that busy. Yi Huanyan said that on purpose. Did she deliberately want to ruin his lunch with Sheng Amren? Thinking of this possibility, Ling Han suddenly felt a little happy. Without waiting for him to speak, Sheng Amren coughed dryly in the office. "Han, I have a magazine cover shooting in the suburbs this afternoon. If you don't take me there, I'm afraid I can't catch up with the press conference in the afternoon." "That's not good." Ling Han frowned slightly. "Why don't you take me there, Secretary Yi?" Sheng Amren's eyes flashed with an unknown light. She looked at Ling Han. "This way, I won't miss the press conference, right?" Smart women always calculated too much at critical moments. The losses they suffered in the past few days made Ling Han begin to regret keeping a woman like Sheng Amren by his side. Yi Huanyan's face was a little cold, but she didn't speak. She just looked at Ling Han and waited for his response. Ling Han's voice was a little dry. He avoided her eyes and pushed the car key on the table to Yi Huanyan. Yin Yin, you drive my car and take her there. Ling Han had to agree to Sheng Amren's request, even though no one knew better than him about the new and old hatred between Yi Huanyan and her. Yi Huanyan's flat mouth finally raised a self-mocking arc. Okay. Looking at Yi Huanyan and Sheng Amren walking out of the office one after another, Ling Han frowned and sighed silently in his heart. Forget it. I'll explain it to her after the press conference. Sheng Amren followed Yi Huanyan into the underground garage, and 2 pairs of high-heeled shoes made a sound of staggered steps. She walked to the door. In fact, if I were you, I wouldn't choose to come back to work. Does it feel good to humiliate yourself? Secretary Yi. Sheng Amren looked at Yi Huanyan's back and provoked her. Yi Huanyan stopped, turned around, and glanced at Sheng Amren with cold eyes. Humiliate yourself? She sneered, looked at Sheng Amren and said sarcastically, I'm afraid Miss Sheng has to eat lunch by herself today. Who do you think humiliates themselves? Hearing this, Sheng Amren's face suddenly turned white, and she looked at Yi Huanyan with more fierceness in her eyes. After getting on the car, Yi Huanyan fastened her seat belt, took a deep breath, and slowly backed the car out of the parking space of the garage. She didn't notice a black figure in the mirror outside the window, hidden behind the silver-white business car. After the car drove out of the garage, a figure came out of the corner of the garage. She was wearing a wide black coat, but it could still be seen that she was a woman. She wore a mask and sunglasses, and there was an obvious red scar on her cheek. She walked towards the exit of the basement. When she passed by the trash can, there was a cold light in her sleeve. Clang! A wrench fell into the trash can, making a loud noise. The man seemed to enjoy hearing such a sound very much. Through the mask, he gave a sinister laugh. In the office of Pleasure Group, Ling Han opened the drawer to take the document. As soon as he opened it, he saw a black suede box. Chapter 305. A trace of doubt flashed in his eyes. He took the box out of the drawer. When he was about to open it, his phone on the table vibrated twice. Before he had time to read the message, the screen suddenly flashed. President Ling, Professor Xiao is downstairs. I'll take him to the restaurant first. When will you arrive? Xiao Dong's respectful voice sounded from the phone. Okay. I see. After hanging up, Ling Han stood up, buttoned his suit and walked out of the office. Yi Huanyan held the steering wheel at the interchange in the suburbs and did not say a word. Sheng Amren was playing with her newly manicured nails and glanced at Dong Xuebing. Don't you want to ask me what Ling Han did to me last night? Yi Huanyan's face tightened. The news is already like this, and you are still so calm. Sheng Amren laughed and said in a mean tone. But I expected it. After all, when Ling Han was always with me in the past, I didn't see you say anything. It's the same now. Yi Huanyan did not look at Dong Xuebing and said in a deep voice. From last night to this morning, the news is spreading faster than we can control. Do you think no one can see it is a deliberate publicity stunt? Ling Han had analyzed the data herself after Sheng Amren and Ling Han entered the office. According to the media's style, since this is an exclusive report, it is impossible to release it immediately after the incident. They will go through the procedures first. For Ling Han's sake, they should at least inform Pleasure. But this time, they did not do so, and Pleasure's PR department was caught off guard. Sheng Amren didn't care, and his delicate facial features showed a proud expression. Even if it is a deliberate publicity stunt, that video is not fake. So what? Yi Huanyan pursed his lips, and his face was tense. Sheng Amren's eyes turned slightly, revealing a hint of sinister. Her red lips moved slightly. If I told you that at the press conference this afternoon, Ling Han is going to announce the news of our engagement, would you still be so indifferent? Yi Huanyan's expression froze. What did you say? Sheng Amren took out a ring box from his small bag and opened it with a snap, revealing the bright diamond ring inside. Does it look good? Yi Huanyan's expression darkened. Sheng Amren pulled down half of her sleeve, revealing the mottled kiss marks on her shoulder. She curled her red lips and said, Let me tell you something. Last night was the first time he slept with me. He was very gentle. Yi Huanyan's eyes widened. There was both astonishment and anger in her eyes. First time? The first time he touched her? Why? Sheng Amren tidied up her clothes and looked at Yi Huanyan with a half-smile. Last night, Ling Han told me that he would marry me after divorcing you. He told me to wait for him and be patient. Your announcement of your relationship with Su Nianhua is actually a blow to him. I have to thank you for this. He has completely given up on you. We will live a good life in the future. Sheng Amren slowly talked about Ling Han's mini dissatisfaction with her and displayed her ability to add insult to injury to the best of her ability. At the thought of the news last night, the half-true and half-false news video, Yi Huanyan's face became more and more ugly. She couldn't help clenching the steering wheel and stepping on the accelerator. The car instantly increased the horsepower and drove quickly on the highway. Sheng Amren exclaimed, and the ring box in her hand fell into the carriage. She clenched the seat belt in her hand and screamed, Yi Huanyan, you're crazy! In the excitement of galloping, Yi Huanyan was finally able to put aside Sheng Amren's nagging and think about some problems calmly. Her love and hatred with Ling Han, the awkwardness between Ling Han and Sheng Amren, and what she heard behind her desk last night, and even the inexplicable news. When the car drove to the entrance of the mountain road, she released the accelerator and suddenly sneered. If Ling Han really proposed to you, I'm afraid you wouldn't bother to show off in front of me, right? The air in the car solidified a little, and Sheng Amren's face turned pale, but she still straightened her neck and said, Of course, I want to tell you. I also want to warn you that if you want to divorce early and don't seduce other people's husbands. Other people's husbands? Yi Huanyan slowly exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. She completely saw Sheng Amren's guilty conscience, but she was relieved. She said calmly, I haven't divorced him yet. You don't have to be so self-righteous to be a mistress, do you? We'll divorce. Sheng Amren opened her eyes wide and stared at Yi Huanyan fiercely. Although she tried her best to put on a threatening look, such a sentence had already betrayed her guilty conscience. As soon as the words came out of her mouth, the look in her eyes changed. She took a deep breath and stared at Yi Huanyan with embarrassment and anger. Yi Huanyan raised her eyebrows, completely released the accelerator, held the steering wheel, and turned on the winding mountain road. Although you think you're smart in front of me, I still want to thank you. Sheng Amren frowned. Yi Huanyan, are you sick? Yi Huanyan's eyes flashed with some intelligence and cunning. She paused for a few seconds and said with a smile, Thank you for telling me that for more than a year, in fact, my husband has never touched you. Sheng Amren's face was white with a hint of blue and red, as if she was full of anger, but she couldn't say a word. At last, she stamped her foot angrily in the middle of venting. The car shook slightly, and then there was no follow-up. Yi Huanyan was in a very good mood. She turned on the music in the car, a soothing French song. Su Nianhua just recommended it to her in the morning, Snow Lotus. Sheng Amren held the seat belt and was about to lower her head to pick up the diamond ring, but the speed was too fast. Every time she turned the corner of the winding mountain road, the whole person would tilt a little. She frowned and said angrily, Can you slow down? I'll pick something up. Yi Huanyan was not a person who added insult to injury. In addition, she was in a good mood at the moment, so she agreed. She held the steering wheel and was ready to slow down a little bit. Sheng Amren waited for a long time, but the car still didn't slow down. She asked impatiently, Hey, are you deliberately against me? What's the matter with you? She looked up at Yi Huanyan, but found that her face was covered with a thin layer of sweat, and her hands holding the steering wheel were trembling slightly. Hey! Yi Huanyan's face was calm, and her limbs were almost stiff. She turned a deaf ear to Sheng Amren's words, because when she just tried to slow down, she found that the speed could not be reduced at all. It suddenly occurred to her that the speed had been like this since she had just released the accelerator. At first, the car was stable, but now she had clearly felt that there were problems with the wheels and brakes. She couldn't stop. In the restaurant downstairs of the pleasure group, Ling Han and Professor Xiao finished their meal. They sent Professor Xiao away and went back to the office alone. As they walked, they looked at the unread messages in the mobile phone. After scrolling down 2 messages, they suddenly saw the message from an unknown sender that had been received in the office half an hour ago. Ling Han, you don't remember me, do you? I've tampered with the car. Your 2 women are in the car. If you're lucky, you can see the message earlier. Maybe you can catch up with them. Car. Tampered with. Ling Han's eyes were instantly covered with a layer of frost, and the hand holding the mobile phone kept shaking. Chapter 306. Who are you? Ling Han's voice rang out in the lobby of the pleasure group, attracting everyone's attention. Ha 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 ha. You really don't remember me. A woman's wild laughter came from the other end of the phone. Ling Han was extremely cold. What the hell did you do? I can't stop the car, ha 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 ha. I want you and that B*TCH Sheng Amran to die. I didn't expect you to be so lucky, ha ha ha. I didn't expect that woman called Yi Huanyan to die for you, ha ha ha. Ling Han, now you'll remember me for the rest of your life, right? Remember me, I mean Guogua. The moment he heard the name, Ling Han directly hung up the phone. Xiaomu hurried over. Director Ling, what happened? Give me the car keys. Ha. Xiaomu was bewildered. Ling Han did not care that they were in public, and violently tore open his suit. He directly dug out the car keys from his pocket, and sprinted toward the garage without looking back. Xiaomu had never seen her panicked footsteps and panicked eyes like this before. On the winding mountain road, the sapphire blue car's wheels made a sharp screeching sound. Yi Huanyan tried all kinds of methods, but could not stop the car. Fortunately, it was uphill, so she managed to slow down the car. On the side, Sheng Amran was already pale with fright. She clutched the seat belt with a pale face. How could this be? Yi Huanyan, are you trying to scare me? You don't have to be like this no matter how much you hate me. Shut up. Yi Huanyan's face was dark, and a drop of cold sweat slid down the tip of her nose and dripped onto the back of her hand that was holding the steering wheel. She tried to suppress the fear in her heart and tried to drive the car smoothly on the winding mountain road. Ah! Sheng Amran's scream pounded in Yi Huanyan's mind. She glared at Sheng Amran impatiently. Can you King stop arguing? The makeup on Sheng Amran's face had been ruined by crying. She clasped the safety handle tightly and cried. I won't fight with you over Ling Han, okay? Just focus on driving. I won't fight with you over him. Sheng Amran's crying made Yi Huanyan more and more upset. She kept adjusting the speed of the car, only to feel that the speed was increasing a little bit, and the brake under her feet had completely lost its effect. Not long after, the wheels made a sharp screeching sound, and the whole car tilted. It completely lost control of the steering wheel and fell to the side. Yi Huanyan's face was pale as she muttered, It's over. Sheng Amran was in a daze from crying. She vaguely thought that she heard the word too late, and said anxiously, It's not too late. I promise that I'll cut off all ties with him when I go back. We won't see each other again. I beg you, drive carefully and don't be impulsive. Before Sheng Amran could finish her words, the car had rushed to the safety fence. At that moment, Yi Huanyan had a decisive look in her eyes. She made a prompt decision, suddenly unfastened her seat belt, sideways past Sheng Amran, opened the door of the co-pilot's seat, and at the same time, pushed her out of the car in Sheng Amran's frightened eyes. Boom! A loud noise resounded throughout the valley. The royal blue car hit the protective fence straight and smashed the whole protective fence. Then, under inertia, the whole car shook violently and fell down the cliff. Sheng Amran rolled several times on the ground and fainted in pain. There was a harsh roar in her ears. When Ling Han arrived at the scene, only Sheng Amran with disheveled hair was left kneeling 5 or 6 meters away from the smashed protective fence on the huge mountain road. Her eyes were empty. She was covered with bloodstains, and her delicate face was covered with dried blood. When she heard someone calling her, she raised her head in a daze, only to see Ling Han looking at her. Her lips were moving, and the muscles on her face were trembling, but she couldn't hear a sound. She thought she had lost her hearing, but Ling Han closed his eyes fiercely, and then opened his mouth again. The whole world suddenly had a sound again. He pinched her shoulder, The blue veins on his forehead jumped violently and roared. Sheng Anren, say something. Where's Yin Yan? Sheng Anren opened her mouth in a daze, but found that she couldn't make a sound. Finally, she raised her hand and pointed to the smashed guardrail. She. No one knew how shocked Sheng Anren was now, and no one knew how much fear and panic she had. The feeling of the world collapsing and her life hanging by a thread. But at the moment of death, she was robbed of her life by the person she hated. It made her feel that it was very painful to live like this. Yi Huanyan rolled down the cliff with the car. Yi Huanyan didn't save herself at the last moment, but she pushed herself out. Was Yi Huanyan crazy? What did you say? Ling Han's extremely panicked voice entered her ears. I don't know. She covered her ears and wailed loudly. When the fire brigade and police arrived, Ling Han was pulling on the collar of a woman whose face was covered in blood. His face was deathly pale, and he roared at the top of his lungs. She fell down the cliff. Why are you here? Sheng Anren, why are you here? Xiao Mu and the fire brigade, who arrived later, separated the two. The medical team sent Sheng Anren to the ambulance to check her wounds, and the police pulled up the surveillance footage of the intersection. Xiao Mu pulled Ling Han and advised. We haven't figured out the situation yet. Didn't Anren faint? She doesn't know what happened at all. Calm down, Director Ling. Ling Han's face darkened, and he turned around and fiercely punched the hood of the car. With a loud bang, 3 clearly visible holes appeared on the black hood. Sheng Anren's intermittent sobbing came from the medical vehicle. At the time, the car lost control, and Yi Huanyan drove towards the railing. I was so scared that I didn't know what happened. She suddenly pushed me out of the car, and then I fainted. When I woke up, there was only the broken railing in front of me. There was nothing else. After the uniformed police finished taking the statement, he walked towards Ling Han with the record book. You're Yi Huanyan's family, right? It's like this. We investigated the surveillance footage at the intersection, and the situation is similar to what Miss Sheng said. According to the number you provided half an hour ago, my colleagues also found the suspect who tampered with the car. We're still investigating whether she tampered with the car's death. Where's Yi Huanyan? Ling Han interrupted the police officer's words and stared at him with a threatening gaze. The police felt very uncomfortable under his stare. He raised his hand to support the brim of his hat and said with a frown, according to the situation, there's an 80 to 90% chance that she can't be saved. The car has already fallen off the cliff. What did you say? Ling Han suddenly grabbed the police's collar, and his face was extremely dark. We haven't found her yet, and you're telling me that you can't find her. Which police station are you from? And who is your director? His angry roar resounded throughout the entire valley. The police officers who were handling the situation on the side all surrounded them. Some pulled out their guns, and some pulled out their batons. The scene was chaotic. Chapter 307. Everyone in Lanjiang City knew about Ling Han's identity. The police did not dare to do anything. But it did not mean that they would not do anything if they were pushed too far. Xiao Mu quickly grabbed Ling Han and said anxiously, Director Ling, it's more important to find Secretary Yi. Right now time is life. We have plenty of time to settle the score with them when they're at the police station. Ling Han's eyes froze when he heard the words Secretary Yi, and he reluctantly let go of his hand. That unlucky police officer was about to explode when he was pulled back by his colleagues behind him. They also found an older and calmer person to negotiate with Ling Han. We're investigating the exact situation. We'll definitely find her. But Xiaoli didn't make it clear just now. Director Ling, why don't you go home and wait? We'll search the entire mountain overnight. We want to see her if she's alive or dead. Ling Han spat out 4 words with a cold face. She won't die. For the entire night, Deer Mountain Expressway was sealed off for search and rescue. The news of the search and rescue at the bottom of the valley was sent to the top of the mountain every half an hour. The medical team first brought Sheng Anren back to the hospital for treatment. On the empty mountain road, Ling Han stood motionless against the wind while holding onto the protective fence like a statue. It was not until the middle of the night that the last piece of news came from the bottom of the valley. Mr. Ling, we found part of the wreckage of the car at the bottom of the valley. Most of it was washed downstream by the stream. Judging from the burn marks on the wreckage, there was a huge explosion in the car, so the person inside couldn't have survived. My condolences. He had been standing for too long, and his legs were numb. He actually wanted to grab the police officer who spoke and question him on what basis he came to this conclusion. However, the empty valley and the pitch-black night kept reminding him that he was not going to leave this place. Couldn't have survived. These 4 words were so decisive when they came from the police officer's mouth. His phone rang in his pocket. It was Xiaomu. Hello. Ling Han's voice was very hoarse, and he used all his strength to say that one word. On the other end of the phone, Xiaomu was silent for a few seconds. Director Ling, Sheng Anren said that before Secretary Yi pushed her out of the car, she asked her to pass a message to you. His hand that was holding onto the protective fence suddenly tightened. What did she say? She said that she had repaid everything she owed you, and that it was time to live a good life. The night wind blew, and the night was bleak. With a paw sound, the phone slipped from his ear and fell on the road. It flickered a few times before rolling into the bushes on the side of the road. It fell into the valley and became a small dot of light before finally disappearing. On the empty and lonely mountain road, a tall and straight figure slowly squatted on the ground. His hands covered his face, and his shoulders began to tremble. Not long after, that pair of slender and clean hands grabbed the hair in front of his forehead, and his forbearing and sorrowful cries echoed in the valley over and over again. No matter how much I owe you, I've already paid you back, so you have to live well. But in a world without you, what is a good life? At the entrance of the operating theater of Lanjiang City International Medical Center, doctors of various skin colors, wearing green sterile gowns, shuttled back and forth between the corridor and the operating theater. All of them looked dignified and did not dare to slack off. Basins of gauze covered in a thick, charred substance mixed with blood were carried out of the operating theater. A dark figure sat on the sofa in the corridor, toying with a loaded pistol in his hand. His eyes were demonic and cold, and his entire body was indescribably cold. Everyone's heart was in their mouths, and the man's powerful words when he sent someone into the operating theater echoed over and over in their minds. If you can't save her, the entire hospital will be buried with her. The day after Yi Huanyan's accident, the fire department gave up on the search and rescue work. The identification report was sent to the pleasure group, and only Qiao Mu was there. The police handed the report to Qiao Mu with a solemn expression. We were afraid that you would be anxious, so our director specially asked us to prepare a case report and send it over. That little girl named Yi Huanyan is truly extraordinarily courageous. Under such circumstances, she could still think of pushing the person in the front passenger seat out of the car. Very impressive. Qiao Mu's eyes were filled with sorrow. He had gone to the hospital to see Sheng Anren, and after hearing about this matter from her, his original guilt had already suffocated him, and now it was even more so. He asked in a hoarse voice, "Did Yin Guogua tamper with the car?" Hearing this, the police sighed. According to the evidence you provided, it was enough to prove that she tampered with the car. However, when our people went to her place to arrest her, we found that she had already lost her mind. There is also a psychiatric identification report here. Qiao Mu frowned. Lost her mind? What a coincidence. Could she be faking it? The police shook his head. We've already investigated. She was raped half a month ago, and many videos and photos were taken on the computer. Also, when we found her, her face had already become like this. Perhaps she was traumatized, and her mind was not in the right state. Raped? A trace of astonishment flashed through Qiao Mu's eyes. He lowered his head and flipped through the information. Sure enough, he saw a page of data and a photo of Yin Guogua wearing a mental patient's gown. Her originally innocent face was full of knife wounds, and her eyes were hollow. She clearly had lost her mind. She was released from prison about 2 months ago. She was originally bailed out by a wealthy businessman, but for some reason, She was raped by a group of hooligans near the South Alley half a month ago. This matter was not reported to the police, but we found a packaged compressed file on her computer. It should have been sent to her by someone. She was probably blackmailed, but when we traced the email that sent her the video, we found that we couldn't find the blackmailed target. Moreover, Ngwugwa has lost her mind, so it's not easy to investigate. The police talked about the case on their own, but they did not notice that Xiao Mu was staring at the email ID on the page with a face as pale as a sheet. That ID was a virtual ID that a friend of his who majored in computer science helped him create. It had a hidden function, and no one could trace the sender of the file. More than half a month ago, Sheng Amren used his computer. It was clear at a glance who Ngwugwa was mentally deranged, and who she was trying to kill. He did not dare to believe this result. He did not dare to believe the truth. Sheng Amren was recuperating in the hospital, while Sister Sue peeled an apple for her. Hasty footsteps came from the door, and when she looked up, she saw Xiao Mu's panicked figure. She was panting heavily as if she had run here, and her face was completely drained of blood. She glanced at Sister Sue, and Sister Sue understood. She put down the apple and walked out first, closing the door behind her. Sheng Amren took a deep breath and said with a frown, "Xiao Mu, isn't it bad for you to come to me at this time? My fans all know that I'm injured and hospitalized, and there are reporters outside. Did you send Ngwugwa's nude photos to her?" Xiao Mu's questioning voice froze the atmosphere in the room. Sheng Amren's face paled, and she guiltily avoided his gaze. "No. Did you find someone to rape her?" "No. You took photos and video to threaten her? Why did you do this?" Xiao Mu's eyes were filled with anger, and he abruptly grabbed her by the collar, almost suffocating her. Sheng Amren screamed and slapped at Xiao Mu's arm, struggling. "Let go of me. If I don't do this, she will tell the truth about Yi Huanyan's car accident to Ling Han, and you and I will be finished." Chapter 308. It's all because of you. Sheng Amren's scream caused Xiao Mu to loosen her grip. She scrambled to the other side of the bed and looked at Xiao Mu with lingering fear. Xiao Mu clenched her fingers, her face tense. After a while, a trace of dejection appeared in her eyes. "For me?" He laughed and fell onto the sofa. "When have you not done it for yourself?" Sheng Amren pursed her lips and did not dare to speak. "Do you know who tampered with the car?" Sheng Amren did not dare to respond. In reality, before he came, she had already seen the news report that Ngwugwa did it. She had also gone crazy. The police could not find a motive for the murder because she was mentally ill, so she had been directly transferred to a mental hospital. "You were the person that Ngwugwa originally wanted to kill, right?" Xiao Mu looked at Sheng Amren with grief in her eyes. "Yi Huanyan died for you, yet you can still say something like that? How can you stay here as if nothing happened?" I didn't know that things would turn out like this," Sheng Amren explained in a small voice. Xiao Mu only felt a turbid feeling in his chest. He did not want to say another word to her, and abruptly stood up to walk toward the door. Sheng Amren hastily got off the bed and staggered a few steps before reaching out to grab his wrist. "Where are you going?" Xiao Mu looked down at her hand and scoffed. "Don't worry. I won't tell Ling Han what you did. The matter of you instigating me to switch the DNA test. The matter of you having Ngwugwa hit Secretary Yi with her car. And also the matter of you suddenly calling me to luxurious brocade court that night and going to bed with me. Even so, he doesn't know anything. Do you think you can stay by his side?" Don't tell me. I don't want to know." Xiao Mu shook off her hand, her eyes full of sorrow. "Just treat it as if I misjudged you." Originally, he thought that they were in the same boat, but he didn't expect that she would be so unscrupulous in order to marry Ling Han. Step by step, he followed her into the trap, consigned to eternal damnation. In the villa of Jinjiang Park, bottles of wine were scattered all over the carpet in the living room. On the sofa lay a drunken figure with an unshaven beard. When he woke up, he went to the wine cellar to get a batch of wine. After he got drunk, he would lay on the sofa and dream, repeatedly capturing her figure in his dream. There was a car parked in the courtyard, and the doorbell was ringing loudly. Ling Ling came out of the kitchen and glanced at the sofa. She sighed and hurried to the door. When she opened the door, she was slightly stunned. Are you Su Nianhua? Su Nianhua nodded slightly and said coldly, I'm looking for Ling Han. He's at home, right? Without waiting for Ling Ling to speak, he walked past her and went straight into the house. Ling Ling followed behind him. It's not convenient for young master to meet anyone right now. The living room was filled with the strong smell of alcohol and a sour stench. At a glance, Su Nianhua saw Ling Han lying on the sofa with a half-dead look. Just as he was about to walk over, his feet moved, and a large number of wine bottles fell with a clatter. What's wrong with him? Ling Ling sighed and her eyes reddened. After Miss Ye's accident, young master has been like this. He's drunk every day and doesn't eat or talk to anyone. He just sits here and doesn't respond to anyone. Hearing this, Su Nianhua was furious. He strode over the bottles and jars and walked to the sofa. He grabbed Ling Han's collar and said, He's already dead. Why are you King pretending to be innocent? Ling Han opened his sleepy eyes and looked at the intruder. He raised his hand impatiently and waved him away. He said coldly, Don't touch me. He stood up and staggered towards the wine cabinet, turning a blind eye to Su Nianhua's intrusion. Su Nianhua clenched his fists and growled. Before Yin Yan's accident, you hurt her time and time again. Now that she's dead, who are you trying to show this to? To comfort yourself? You're pretending to tell yourself that you're actually heartbroken, and that you love her more than others think you do? That you're in more pain than anyone else when she's dead? Ling Han opened the wine cabinet and took out a bottle of wine. He directly opened the lid, raised his head, and gulped down 2 mouthfuls. Then, he coldly looked at Su Nianhua, his eyes filled with desolation. None of you understand my pain. Don't understand. Su Nianhua was burning with anger. He took 3 steps forward and threw a punch without saying anything. The punch made a muffled sound, accompanied by Ling Ling's scream. Ling Han fell to the ground, and the wine bottle hit the floor tiles. With a clang sound, it broke, and the orange-yellow turbid liquid flowed all over the floor. Ling Han dropped the bottle and touched the corner of his mouth. He felt blood on his hand, and his nose was full of the smell of blood. He laughed self-deprecatingly and got up. He leaned against the wine cabinet and stared at Su Nianhua. What's wrong? Now that she's gone, you want to compete with me to see who loves her more? What's the point? Su Nianhua felt anger rush to the top of his head. He clenched his fist and shouted, What's the point? I also want to ask you what's the point of my first love, whom I've been guarding for 10 years, being beaten black and blue by you? What's the point of being accused of not being your biological child, when she was pregnant with your child? What's the point of being kicked out of the family? She clearly suffered a miscarriage, but she begged us not to tell you that the paternity test was fake. She wholeheartedly protected you, but in exchange for nothing and even lost her life. What's the point of all this? He said these words quickly and anxiously. By the time he finished speaking, his eyes were red. Ling Han's chaotic eyes suddenly found a trace of clarity. He looked at Su Nianhua in a daze. What do you mean the paternity test was fake? From beginning to end, I didn't do anything improper with Yin Yan. On the night of the annual party, we were locked in the room. At first, I couldn't control myself, but Yin Yan kept calling your name. She pushed me away more decisively than ever before. From beginning to end, she only had you in her heart. Su Nianhua's eyes were about to split open. His eyes were bloodshot as he enunciated every word. These were the tears of blood that Yi Huanyan had shed for the past 2 years. What are you saying? Impossible. Why should I believe you? Ling Han's face was cold. Even if you want to exonerate her, you don't need to mention this matter again. He's right. I was the one who swapped the paternity test results. The results of the amniocentesis test showed that the child in Secretary Ye's belly is your child. I was the one who swapped the 2 samples. Su Nianhua's sample is actually yours. A voice sounded at the entrance. Ling Han looked up and saw Qiao Mu's figure. He knelt on the carpet at the entrance with a normal sound. President Ling, I've let you down. I was the one who did it. I framed Secretary Yi. The sound of wine bottles colliding rang out. Ling Han's back slammed against the wine cabinet. His face was deathly pale as he stared at Xiao Mu in disbelief. He did not dare to believe every word that came out of his mouth. Chapter 309. When Xiao Mu knelt down, a bright figure barged in from behind her. She had just returned from a business trip when she heard about this matter, so she hastily rushed over to find Ling Han. She simply did not dare to believe what Xiao Mu had just said when she stood at the door. Impossible! How is this possible? Ling Han muttered to himself, and a torrential fury gradually gathered in his eyes as he looked at Xiao Mu. Xiao Mu knelt in the entryway, her eyes filled with remorse. Director Ling, I was wrong. I let you and Secretary Yi down. Ling Han staggered forward and kicked him in the chest, causing him to fall to the ground. Then he grabbed his collar and roared. Why did you do this? It's my problem alone, Director Ling. I did it all. It has nothing to do with anyone else. You did it all. Ling Han's eyes were filled with iciness. He mercilessly punched Xiao Mu's face again, causing blood to flow. He punched and kicked, and interrogated Xiao Mu about the reason why he framed Yi Huanyan. But no matter how he kicked him and punched him in the face, he refused to speak. Seeing that Xiao Mu did not even have the strength to speak, Su Nianhua hastily walked up and tried to stop Ling Han. However, Ling Han seemed to be possessed, and his strength was so great that he nearly flipped Su Nianhua over. Ji Xiaoya barely managed to support Su Nianhua, and the fury in her eyes flared. She slapped Ling Han with the back of her hand, and the slap was exceptionally clear in the large living room. Immediately afterward, Ji Xiaoya roared, "This slap is for Yin Yan. It's useless even if you King beat Xiao Mu to death. Why didn't you do it earlier? Why didn't you touch your conscience and ask yourself why you didn't believe in Yin Yan's character? Why you didn't believe in her love and loyalty towards you? Why you doubted her again and again and hurt her? Her death is completely because of you, an artificial adult, and has nothing to do with anyone else. You said that you took your anger out on her because of your mother, but she didn't kill your mother. Even if there is a grudge, what does it have to do with her? She also admitted that the child should repay the mother's debt. She stayed by your side without any regrets to atone for her mother's sins. But what about you? You doubted her intentions again and again. Do you know how many years she has loved you? I've known her for 9 years. Ever since we found out about your existence in university. Everyone in our dorm knows how much love there is in her eyes when she talks about you." Ji Xiaoya angrily pointed at Ling Han, as tears streamed down her cheeks. She felt that it was unfair for Yi Huanyan, and as she spoke, she was already choked with sobs and incoherent speech. Su Nianhua pulled Ji Xiaoya behind him, and glanced at Xiao Mu, indicating for her to take care of her. Then he walked up and blocked Ling Han. Afterward, he took a deep breath to calm himself down from Ji Xiaoya's words and coldly said, "Before she returned to the company, she already knew that the DNA test results had been switched. She begged me not to tell you, so that you wouldn't blame yourself too much. She had long forgiven you and wanted to spend the rest of her life with you. But what did you do? Even now, you're still placing all the blame on the villain behind the scenes. Xiao Yu is right. From beginning to end, you were the one who caused this tragedy. It was you who didn't trust Yin Yan. You ruined her, and also ruined the love between you two." Su Nianhua's words were like a heavy hammer that ruthlessly hammered into Ling Han's heart. He staggered back 2 steps and muttered, "Nothing to do with anyone, nothing to do with anyone." Ji Xiaoya sobbed as she supported Xiao Mu out of Jinjiang Court's entrance. Just as they stepped out of the door, Xiao Mu fell headfirst onto the ground, causing her to fall onto her but in the hallway. She fumbled for her phone in a fluster, and dialed the emergency number. However, the loud sound of glass shattering suddenly came from the villa behind her, causing her to shudder and reflexively turn around to look. Through the window, she only saw a figure madly smashing everything around her. It was as if she was possessed, crying and laughing at the same time, turning the entire house into a mess. The next second, Su Nianhua and the servant named Lingling ran out of the room one after another, followed by an expensive vase. With a clang sound, the vase was smashed into pieces in the corridor. Su Nianhua anxiously yelled. Xiaoyu, hurry and call the emergency center. Ling Han has gone crazy. Inside the house, Ling Han only saw a pool of blood in front of his eyes, and his mind was in chaos. The various events of the past 2 years, or even more than 10 years, played in his mind like a movie. Yi Huanyan's figure was impossible to get rid of. Her pain, her grievance, her hesitation, and her stubbornness mixed with his own tyrannical appearance, ultimately turning into a distorted space that sucked him in. Ling Han, are you satisfied? I finally don't owe you anything. Ling Han, I truly love you. Familiar voices drifted into his ears. Some were accusing him, some were laughing, and some were crying. His vision blurred, and he seemed to see her standing next to the wine cabinet, asking him with a smile, Brother Ling Han, you have so much wine hidden in your house. Can I drink it? He walked over in a panic and reached out to touch her face, his voice hoarse. Yen Yen. Her appearance suddenly transformed into a black shadow, and she coldly questioned, Do you really love me? You don't love me at all. You love Sheng Anren, and you love those people who lied to you. His footsteps suddenly froze, and the black shadow gradually formed facial features, turning into Qiao Mu's appearance. She looked at him with a sneer. President Ling, I brought the paternity test results. It says that the child isn't yours. Mournful howls continuously came from the villa, and the windows in the corridor shattered one after another. There was another wave of crashing sounds, and a bronze sculpture flew out of the window, rolling to Ji Xiaoya's feet. Su Nianhua pulled her back. Stay away. He's crazy, be careful. Ji Xiaoya stared blankly into the window. Has he really gone crazy? Half an hour later, the people from the emergency center rushed over. In the mess of the villa, 4 strong men held down Ling Han, and the doctor injected him with a tranquilizer. He gradually regained his composure, but he also directly fainted from exhaustion. Looking at the unconscious man lying on the bed, Ji Xiaoya thought of her poor best friend, and her eyes couldn't help but redden. She turned around and wiped her tears, feeling a bit lost. She didn't know if she was right to stand up for Yi Huanyan. In the end, she stomped her feet and left the villa. There were many love-struck men and resentful women in the world. If one was lucky, they would be tied by a red string, and their lovers would end up together. If one was unlucky, they would be separated and would not have a good ending in this life. In the chaos, Ling Han seemed to see Yi Huanyan walking toward him. Her face was pale, and her eyes were distant. It was as if she was looking at a stranger, and she expressionlessly touched his face. It was as if she was talking to a mass of air, and she said in a very regretful tone, Ling Han, after I leave, there will be no one you can trust by your side anymore. He reached out and tried to grab her shadow, but he couldn't even grab a corner of her clothes. Yen Yen. When he woke up from his dream, the room was pitch black. He raised his hand to touch his face, only to feel a patch of moisture at the corner of his eyes. Chapter 310. 5 years later, in the president's office of the Pleasure Group in Lanjiang City, Secretary Dong knocked on the door with a stack of documents in his arms. President Ling, we've made some progress on the script. Come in. A steady voice sounded in the office. Secretary Dong pushed the door open and walked straight to the desk. He said respectfully to the figure behind the desk, We can't contact the scriptwriter for Yu Sheng right now, but we've contacted her assistant. Her assistant said that Miss Dora is currently studying in Europe and doesn't want to talk about the script for the time being. She said that everything will be handled by her assistant. The figure was silent for a few seconds before he asked in a deep voice, What did the assistant say? Secretary Dong was slightly taken aback. With a serious expression he said, They're probably not satisfied with the price, so they're raising the price. I've checked, and there are currently no less than 6 companies competing with us for this script. 3 of them are our competitors, so they're very competitive. After all, Miss Dora's achievements in the screenwriting industry are amazing. She only produces 2 scripts a year, but these 2 scripts are definitely the top 3 of the year, so it's not surprising that they're popular. Have you talked to her assistant about the price? I have. Her assistant wants to raise the price and add that we have to wait for Dora to come back. Then we'll wait. Secretary Dong was slightly taken aback. Do we really have to wait? Even if we wait for Dora to come back, she might not cooperate with us. Also, according to them, the price of this script will probably be sky high in China. The script's name is The Rest of My Life with You, right? Yes, Secretary Dong answered without hesitation. Wait. The cold word echoed in the huge office. Secretary Dong nodded and immediately reported other things. There will be a masquerade party tomorrow night. The presidents of the two companies that are competing with us for the role of Yu Sheng will be there. If President Ling doesn't want to go, do you need someone to go on your behalf? No, I'm free tomorrow night. Secretary Dong was slightly taken aback when he heard this. A trace of astonishment flashed across his eyes. In front of the floor-to-ceiling window, the tall figure was still as attractive as before, but his back seemed a little lonely. Got it. I'll arrange a reply to the organizers. The sound of the door closing could be heard in the office. He turned around. His handsome features were the same as before, but there were a few wrinkles between his eyebrows and some mottled traces hidden in his black hair, which made his mental appearance look a little worse. He pulled out the office chair behind him and sat down. From the second drawer on the left, he found a photo and a black suede box. There was a man's watch in the suede box. It had a diamond blue glass face, a black dial, and a black leather strap. It was a simple and elegant design. He rubbed the box, and there was a trace of grief in his eyes. The photo that was originally placed on the second layer of the drawer was now mounted in a photo frame and placed on the desk. In the wooden photo frame was a pure girl with a ponytail, wearing a school uniform, smiling brightly and beautifully. Secretary Dong left the office. As soon as she returned to the secretary's office, she saw a sneaky figure loitering around the door. She snorted coldly. Xiao Pengfei, why aren't you working during working hours? Why are you loitering around here? Don't you want to work anymore? The figure at the door felt his legs go weak, and he staggered in fright. He held the glass door and poked his head out. He said with a smile, Sister Dong, I just want to ask about the ball that will be held overseas tomorrow night. Is President Ling not going? If he's not going, I have to buy a suit in advance. Secretary Dong rolled her eyes at him and said indifferently, Don't think about it. President Ling can go by himself. What? Xiao Pengfei exclaimed. Why are you so surprised? Secretary Dong scolded in annoyance. No. Xiao Pengfei looked puzzled. He pulled out the chair in the secretary's office and sat in front of Secretary Dong's desk. He faced her, turned to look at the closed door of the president's office, and lowered his voice. Didn't you tell me last time that tomorrow is the anniversary of President Ling's wife's death? Every year at this time, he would disappear for an entire day, right? Secretary Dong frowned and subconsciously glanced at the empty desk beside her. She had a complicated expression and sighed. Maybe from this year onwards, everything will be normal. In the Fuluan State Rehabilitation and Treatment Center, a woman in a striped hospital gown sat on the bed. She had a graceful figure, and the large hospital gown could not hide her good figure at all. The only fly in the ointment was that her face was wrapped in bandages, revealing only a pair of clear and watery eyes. They were like a clear pool that shone with brilliance. This is already the 16th surgery this year. If it doesn't succeed, I really don't know how much longer you can endure. The Chinese female doctor, Carrie, was helping her remove the bandages in front of her bed. Her beautiful and delicate features had a rare look of nervousness on them. At this moment, she was wearing sterile gloves and removing the bandages on her face bit by bit. The bandages mixed with herbs were removed from her face bit by bit. Gradually, the jade-like skin under the bandages could be seen. Carrie's hands paused slightly, and she took a deep breath. Why are you more nervous than me? The female patient suddenly spoke. Her voice was thick and heavy, and it was a little hoarse. She sounded like a rock singer, but also like an addict who smoked all year round. However, this kind of hoarseness made one's throat itch. Those who heard her voice would feel as if something was tugging at their heartstrings. However, her tone was nonchalant, as if she was not worried about her appearance after the bandages were removed. Carrie laughed and said embarrassedly, "How can I not be nervous? I haven't seen anyone who has undergone more than 180 skin grafts in 5 years. It's such a good medical case. If it succeeds, it will be a great contribution to the history of medicine. Are you really not nervous? It's your own face after all. Aren't you afraid of failure? It's 181 times. Including this time, it's 182 times. I've failed too many times." Under the bandages, the female patient's lips curled up slightly. "But I'm used to it. Actually, this face is not considered mine now. Then why do you still want to suffer this?" Carrie turned the bandages in his hand again, and the female patient's face was revealed. Her nose was small and upright, and there was a hint of playfulness in it. However, she became even more nervous and had to distract herself by talking. Originally, the burn repair 5 years ago was just a little ugly. If you don't mind, why do you have to undergo such a major surgery again and again? The female patient clasped her hands on her knees, and there was a hint of gentleness in her calm tone. "Naaneo is going to kindergarten soon. I'm afraid that other children will laugh at him." As she spoke, the last bandage fell from her eyes and onto her knees. Carrie clenched his hands and looked at her face. He slowly sucked in a cold breath. "I think no matter what the reason is, your decision is right." Chapter 311. Outside the rehabilitation center's ward, a man with short, silver-white hair sat on the sofa in the corridor. In his arms was a little boy playing Tetris on a game console. The little boy was wearing a black suit with a red bow tie around his neck. He looked delicate and said in a childish voice, "Uncle, you shouldn't put this here." "Then put it here." The silver-haired man dragged the Tetris on the tablet patiently. The little boy slapped his hand away mercilessly and said angrily, "No, no. Uncle, why are you so stupid?" With a creak, Carrie opened the door. "Sinian, the gauze removal is done. How is it?" Gu Sinian looked up abruptly with concern in his eyes. "Come and see for yourself." Before Carrie could finish speaking, the little boy in Gu Sinian's arms had already stepped on his knee, jumped to the ground, and rushed into the ward. The poor tablet flew out of Gu Sinian's hands the moment he jumped, and hit his head hard. A heavy groan sounded in the corridor. Carrie couldn't hide the smile in his eyes. He covered his mouth and lowered his head. In this world, the only person who could be so rude to Gu Sinian was Gu Yao. In the ward, the female patient sat facing the window. The sunlight from the window shone on her face, creating a soft halo. The little boy ran in and shouted sweetly at the figure, "Mommy!" She turned around and revealed a brilliant smile with her back to the light. Now, Mommy!" Naaneo's eyes widened, and he froze on the spot. "What's wrong?" The female patient looked doubtfully at Now, who did not dare to approach. A trace of disappointment flashed through her eyes. She subconsciously touched her face and asked cautiously, "Mommy, am I very, very ugly?" Naaneo, who was stunned, shook his head desperately. He suddenly came back to his senses and dove into her arms. He exclaimed, "Mommy, you're so beautiful. Mommy, you're the most beautiful mommy in the world." Gu Sinian followed closely behind Naaneo. Looking at his sister, who seemed to have gained a new life, his lips curled into a gratified smile. She had suffered too much in the past 5 years. Now it was finally over. Back then, if he hadn't found out that the car had been tampered with in advance, and sent people to search the bottom of the valley at the first opportunity, and rescued Yi Huanyan from the car, who had been washed downstream by the water from upstream, 2 lives would have been lost. However, her face had been burned due to the car explosion. Over the past 5 years, she had undergone nearly 200 skin grafts to repair her face. Her face had completely changed, and she looked like a completely different person. Yi Huanyan was carrying Naaneo. She looked up and saw Gu Sinian come in. She stared at his forehead in confusion and asked, "Brother, what happened to your head?" Hearing this, Gu Sinian held his forehead and said carelessly, "It's nothing. I just bumped into it. It's your birthday party tomorrow. I've already chosen the clothes for you. Since the wound on your face is healed, do you want to change the theme of the masquerade party?" Yi Huanyan was slightly stunned. After thinking for a while, she smiled faintly. No need. Let's talk about it next year. We don't have to go through so much trouble. Ever since she had returned 5 years ago, the Gu family had been thinking of ways to make up for all the things she had lost over the years. From the small things like food and clothing to the big things like her advanced studies and birthday parties every year. The whole family had worked together to take care of her no matter how big or small the matter was. Because of her disfigurement, she did not like to go out. During her first birthday party, her mother, Wen-yi, and father, Gu Heng, had planned a masquerade party. It was not only to introduce her identity as the second daughter of the Gu family to everyone, but also to protect her from revealing her true appearance. After that, her birthday party was held like this every year. All the relatives and friends of the Gu family knew that this second daughter didn't like to show her face. She was doted on by her parents, and the masquerade party every year was extremely luxurious. The venue for this year's birthday party was an uninhabited island in Florence State. By the way, Mom and Dad don't know about my successful surgery yet. Brother, don't tell them first. I want to give them a surprise. Yi Huanyan seemed to have thought of something, and a sly look appeared in her eyes. Gu Xinian raised his eyebrows. Okay, I'll help you keep it a secret. The pain of disfigurement wasn't only Yi Huanyan's pain, but also the pain of her biological parents all these years. It was the first time she saw her daughter with severe burns on her face. If it wasn't for her father comforting her that there was a way to fix it, her mother would have cried until she fainted. The Four Seasons Villa was one of the 10 famous villas in the world. It was also the only private villa among the 10. It was located on a small island in the southern part of the United States. The villa had the island as its boundary and contracted the entire island. It was a private villa that a duke spent 50 years to build in the last century. Now it was the Gu family's private territory. Everyone in the Gu family lived there. In a small detached bungalow in the west court of the villa, a sweet-looking girl threw a pink dress on the ground. As if she couldn't vent her anger, she stomped on it twice more. Is this the work of that designer? You want me to use this piece of cloth to compare with that ugly freak at the birthday party? Don't you know how much the dress Brother Xinian prepared for her is worth? 10 million US dollars. The maid in a black servant uniform knelt on the ground and trembled. She didn't dare to say a word. The woman glared at her fiercely. Tell that designer that there must be cut emeralds and South African diamonds on my dress. The more expensive and gorgeous the better. The maid held the bundle of clothes and trembled as she left the house. She could still hear the sound of the woman smashing things in the house. What kind of stupid masquerade party is this? She's ugly, so she thinks she can hide her ugly face and wear expensive clothes. I'm the second miss of the Gu family. I'm the real one. When the maid went out with the bundle of clothes, she bumped into the young master, Gu Xinian, who had just returned from the airport. She was so scared that her hands trembled, and the gauzy dress fell to the ground. Gu Xinian frowned. He picked up the dress and handed it to the maid. Linda, what's the matter? Why are you in such a hurry? Linda looked back and quickly shook her head. It's nothing. It's just that Miss Duo doesn't like this dress. I'll tell the designer to change it. Hearing this, Gu Xinian looked at Linda in confusion. When he saw the bloodstain on her neck, his face suddenly sank. Did Duo fight with you again? No. The maid quickly shook her head. She took the dress and wanted to leave. It's just a dress. Is there a need to make such a big fuss? Gu Xinian's face sank again. At dinner time, the Gu family sat at the long table to eat. Gu Heng sat in the middle. On his left sat his beautiful and gentle wife, Wen-yi. On his right was Gu Xinian. Next to Wen-yi sat Gu Duo. She was attentively picking food for Wen-yi and calling her mommy affectionately. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.